to the Couch Potato Sports Show. It is me, Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio, as we are here on our Sunday morning tradition. Continues on here to our 15th year as we get set. It is that time. Last week we had AFC and NFC West. Today we're only going to do one division because we've got a special guest coming on today. It's going to be Tom McManus, former Jacksonville Jaguar, and his jersey. Yep. Going to be on the show. Going to be talking about his Jaguars, and we will be talking about the AFC West when he gets in here. Not sure what time he's going to be in. I just sent him a message. He gave me the thumbs up. Not sure when he's going to be in, but he will be in hopefully here fairly soon. As we're going to be talking a weird division of football, as far as who's going to do what, when they're going to do it, why they're going to do it, and all that other stuff. And that being said, of course, that is the name of the show. We'll go ahead and bring him on in, as he's been waiting patiently because I had a computer problem. I had to restart the computer. It is the one, the only, even though he kind of retired the Podfather, but he's still alive right here on the Couch Potatoes for let's bring him on in. There he is. How you doing, Podfather? Good to see you.
You know, for the hardest working man in sports talk radio, you would think that you'd be on time.
I had to restart the computer.
You got to check this stuff ahead of time, sir. You can't just wait till the last minute. Come on.
Well, I had to take the dog out, too, and all that stuff, so I could get ready for this 3 hours.
You have to wash his jersey too. I'm just asking. Is this only like a once a year type thing you break out when he comes on?
I whenever he comes on, I'm gonna wear it a lot this year. I'm gonna mix it. I'm gonna mix it with this one and the first year jerseys of the Jaguars that I got, the white and the teal size. Which, by the way, they're gonna be putting. They're gonna have game number 5 for the Jaguars this year. They're going to be in their old school jerseys, the one that I got. So it's kind of cool. 30 years, by the way, for the Jacksonville Jaguars, their 30th anniversary. So kind of cool as far as that is concerned. I've been watching the Jaguars and what they've been doing from week in and week out as far as that is concerned. But
no one talks about how they've never gone to the Super Bowl in 30 years.
Oh no! Everybody talks about it when they're talking about the Jaguars. They definitely have something to usually bring up in that moment, and I don't blame them. They've had their opportunities. They were in the AFC Championship game before. That when Tom McManus, I can't turn around because I don't have my swivel chair, but I got the McManus on the back here, so name and all. But yeah. So they were in the AFC Championship game, about weren't able obviously to do it, but they've been making the run. This is the year though, after they started. If I'm not mistaken, they were 8-3 when they started the season last year, and guess what? They lost. I think it was 5 out of their last 6, or it was either the 6 or the last 7, one of the two, and missed the playoffs. So,
if I remember correctly, you weren't buying in the hype either. So, I remember around that time you were saying, don't buy what you're seeing on TV right now. This is a total facade. It'll all go away here soon. It did. It did. It blew up right in front of their face.
I will say this, okay? If Trevor Lawrence did not get hurt after the 11th game, okay, I think we might have seen a different result as far as the playoffs concerned. Now, they may have got it booted out of the first round, who knows, but they would have made the playoffs if he didn't get hurt. And the problem is he kept getting hurt, at least according to everything that I've been reading up on that, trying to figure out what happened from last year and things of that sort. And that was the big story in reality, is that he just kind of just re-aggravated it week in and week out after they went on. Now, when you get a high ankle sprain, I've said it on this show, and I've said it 1,000 times. It's a 6-week injury without playing. And when you add a week, when you start playing, and whenever you started within that 6-week period, you add a week. So if you get a high ankle sprain at week number 3, okay, and it's 6 weeks, well, you might have to add a game on that, make it 7 weeks and things of that sort. And the last 2 weeks, I think you add 2 weeks. So, you got to watch that injury. It's a tough one. It's a hard one to get over, especially from the quarterback position. If it is this plant leg, which is exactly what it was. So that now they're going to have to switch their thinking in reality. And that being said, that means they need to get from 8 that they need to have the team from 8-3 instead of the one that finished the season, so they can possibly move forward. So, but we're going to break down those Jaguars. We'll have Tom McManus in, and we'll be talking about the AFC as far as that is concerned. I do want to go back on my prediction from last week, because I don't know if you know about it. So I'm going to give everybody an opportunity to talk about Justin Herbert. We talked about the AFC West last week. Justin Herbert has, and I just found this out as I dug a little deeper, and it just came across my screen that he has an injury that's going to possibly keep him out 6 weeks, which in turn brings him back in week number 2 of the season. And then how does he respond to the injury? And it's a plasia injury, and those are hard to come back from too. So, I don't know, when you go back to where we were talking about the Chargers last week, do you want to change that opinion about where you had the Chargers? I forgot where you had them. Where's my book?
I think you had them second.
My book. Where's my book?
I don't know.
I'm missing my book. Well, this sucks. Well, damn. Well, I usually have a book. So I don't know. Do you want to, based upon the injury? Oh, there's my book right there. Jeez, snake. God bless it. That being said, do you want to maybe revisit the idea of where you had the Chargers? Let me see. You had the Chargers.
I had them second.
You had them in third or second place within the division.
I just said that, yeah. I'm not changing it because, look who I got behind them.
Say that one more time.
Look who I have behind them.
Well, this is true. And by the way, you and I have the same picks as far as this order is concerned. This injury does bother me though, because how long he is actually going to be able to, the rehab, getting ready and getting it. Now, I have a feeling, obviously, we're not going to see him in the preseason, obviously, because of that injury. You don't want to risk this guy anymore, especially in the preseason, especially for 1 or 2 drives in the preseason. It's just stupid. But, this will all depend on how Denver gets out of the gate in reality, as far as where they are and things of that sort. We already know Kansas City probably going to dominate that division of football. And that being said, if they do go ahead and dominate the way we kind of anticipate that they will, that could end up being somewhat of a, blowout division in reality, and will more than one team make it into the playoffs out of that division? It's going to be a big question too.
Okay.
man, your commentary is right on today. By the way, okay, and since we got some time, how was it last night? First week, kind of there was a show last night, if I'm not mistaken.
Mm-hmm.
And you did not, at least according to what you kind of did you make it out to the show, or did you hang out at home? And if you did, how did you enjoy that time?
No, I worked at my regular job both yesterday, but both the last 2 days we had a concert. Comedian Matt Rife was in town.
Yes,
for both shows.
Funny.
So I worked both of them. First, our main goal was to make sure that nobody was taking pictures or filming the show with their phones. We had to throw out a lot of people for doing that crap because they don't read the signs. Don't film the show, otherwise we're throwing your ass out. That was day one, and then day two, while they were still doing that, I was back of house with by the VIP area, and I got to actually meet Matt Rife. That was pretty cool.
Okay.
And just I mean, yeah, I knew there was a show going on out in Coppell. I have no idea how it all went. I know that Bobby messaged me earlier in the day asking me to send him all the music. I'm like, your new guy Shanks has all their music, so I'm clear because I have nothing on my computer wrestling related unless it relates to Ostrich TV. So I'm 100% out. I wish nothing but the best.
I am too, but I still got all my stuff because you never know.
Yeah, I'm pretty much you have to cut a cold turkey in some cases.
Gotcha.
Especially because you don't want to linger around, and I've had someone message me saying, "So you left Sora? Who are you going to work for now?" I'm like, nobody.
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm old and tired.
I mean, my days off, I'm working at my job to make. I mean, the amount of money I can make doing that overtime wise is far and above what I can do going to a wrestling show.
Yes.
Then this weekend I'll have my kiddo here, and we'll hang out. It's pouring down rain right now out here.
By the way, how'd you like the French Connection?
It was a little dated.
It's little. It's a lot dated. It's 72, if I'm not mistaken. But I still like to get the nostalgic of those old movies and things of that style.
I mean, watching Roy Scheider and Gene Hammond beat the shit out of some guy in the very beginning was kind of like, ooh, I don't think they'd put that on TV nowadays. But
Roy, the skinny dude actually, yeah. It's almost like the wrestling. They had all the out of shape skinny dudes, and then Hulk Hogan came, and then it just changed the whole look of the thing. It's kind of what the movies are today. If you go back and watch those kind of things, so, but you got to be able to. Time warp back into that nonsense. I actually tried to watch Happy Days the other day. I wouldn't miss Happy Days when I was a kid, and I'm sitting here watching this and going, "Oh my gosh, this is not bad. This is really bad."
I was a huge Mork and Mindy fan because who doesn't love Robin Williams, right?
Of course, who doesn't?
But boy, you want to talk about some space age time of an era where he was all coked up on drugs and this is around the time Belushi passed away. And, and of course, me being, a big Belushi mark, I understand just how jacked up Robin Williams was back in the day and how he would go and do rehearsals in the show, and then he would go and stay out late at night and do stand-up comedy. Like, he never had an off switch.
Right.
And unfortunately, the cocaine kept driving a lot of that along with him. So, and as for those who know of that era back in the day, Belushi would go 3 days straight, no sleep, straight on binging, and just kept going and going and going.
And I'm not like complete. Well, all right, maybe I am completely over the hill. But when they were doing that, I couldn't even imagine doing.
Well, I mean, just how they would do Saturday Night Live. By the way, the new movie's coming out in October.
Which one?
It's called Saturday Night. It's about the first ever Saturday Night Live show.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, and it was everybody was coked up and trying. They were writing the show constantly and rewriting and and doing all sorts of stuff. And there were contributors who were doing that. I mean, you're talking Chevy Chase, Dan Aykroyd, John Belushi, Jane Curtin, Gilda Radner, Garrett Morris. I mean, all those people were sitting there around the clock doing whatever they could to do to put together what they thought at the time was a quality show. If you go back and watch it on Peacock now, you're sitting there going, the Muppets were on there? What? Jim Henson was a part of this thing? Albert Brooks had a short video. I mean, the first show, you think about it, you had George Carlin, who had 3 sets at the time, Andy Kaufman, who had 2 different sets. Or I know for a fact he had 1. He might have had 2. Janice Ian was the musical guest. And then
who was the musical guest?
Janice Ian.
Okay.
Yeah, she sang it at 17. I remember her because when Jerry Seinfeld was dating a 17-year-old girl, a high school girl, She was on the Howard Stern show, and she parodied that song saying Jerry Seinfeld's girl is 17. So but no, I mean it was definitely a different time, especially SNL was still trying to figure out who they were. The second show had Paul Simon on there, and he sang most of the show. So it wasn't a whole. I mean, mix in the weekend updater here and there. That's really all you had. I mean, you had that and the Killer Bees and the Muppets, and then mostly Paul Simon singing.
Killer Bees.
Yeah, so that was about it.
Oh, Lord have mercy.
You can talk about, one of the funniest things was they had Elliot Gould on the show.
Elliot Gould, yeah.
And Belushi and all them were dressed up as the bees, and Belushi looks at him and goes, "You think we like this? This is what they have for us, okay? Yeah. You think we want to do this? No."
Craziness back in those days compared to what was going. TV is just like a total 180 compared to what it used to be back in that day. It's just absolute nonsense. It's just crazy. But anyway, so that being said, the Bears get a win in preseason.
Doesn't matter.
Exactly. My Jaguars got the win. It doesn't matter. But here's what I know.
Cowboys will lose today. Won't matter.
What time are they on today?
I have no idea. They're on the West Coast tonight, so I have no idea what time they're going to start their game. Probably 9.
Something like that. It might be the prime time game, probably. So,
maybe.
But anyway, that being said, that's this is when I love how optimistic fans, they will jump on a week number 1 thing, there you go, in the turkey suit.
Yeah.
But where was I? Optimistic fans after one preseason game. We're good. It's all over. I was reading all through, the internet and stuff like that. Oh gosh, listen. The Jaguars look good, but listen, week number 1 of the preseason, it means nothing. And I tried to express that especially to young people. This is not the full speed of a game. Hey, Mac Jones looked like a Hall of Famer last night. And listen, I got news for you. He's not a Hall of Famer. Number 2, he's not a good quarterback. So okay, let me rephrase that. He isn't adequate, but just not what you need to be that guy, even at the backup position that you can do. You've already seen what this guy brings to the table. Well, we won't get too much into that. But
if you don't mind, real quickly, it's a quick history lesson about preseason football.
Okay.
1989, Jimmy Johnson's first year as a Cowboys coach. The Dallas Cowboys go 3-1 in the preseason. They went 1-15 the rest of the year. Okay. And it was, Jerry Jones and Jimmy Johnson celebrated a fourth quarter, if not overtime, win over the Denver Broncos in a preseason game. They were dancing on the field. They acted like they won the fucking Super Bowl. Yeah. Thinking this is going to be the team that's going to do it all. Because in college football, those first 3 weeks of your season is pretty much, okay, we got our team set. We're ready to go on to conference play. But now you're talking NFL, and boy, what a huge awakening they got once the regular season started. And they ate up Troy, man, and there was no limit at the time. It was Herschel was there at the time, until before he got traded. They got eaten up constantly. And once again, like I said, preseason football is nice to see where the backups are. Right. Who's going to be the guys who are going to take on the last 5 spots of your team that you don't quite have solidified yet? Until then, that's how Deuce Vaughn got his job with the Cowboys last year.
Right.
So, it's like you might be the preseason darling coming out of here, but what are you going to be in the regular season?
Yep.
And
what it's all about.
Yeah. So, look, I'm glad they're getting out there and doing this, but my computer froze up there for a second. I'm glad they got out there going there and doing this stuff now. I'm glad it's not that many games. I think it's like 3 right now, maybe 2. But, you know, it all starts in the fall.
Right.
So let's get to the fall. That's all I care about.
Yeah.
That and 4 other reasons.
Right. So, and the Bears, they get the victory in the Hall of Fame game, but with the Lightning and everything, that was part of that. The Jets get the victory over Washington. I don't even know if one Aaron Rodgers started or even played in that game. Minnesota, actually watched that Minnesota game because it was on before the Jaguar game.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was on before the Jaguar game on the NFL Network, and it was a nice ending to a game, a nice kick right down the middle. So that was actually an interesting game. Cleveland takes the loss to Green Bay, and by the way, they if you could actually say Jordan Love looked great, it was a preseason game, but he looked great. And Tennessee gets a victory over San Francisco 17-13, and Cincinnati takes a loss against Tampa Bay 17-14. Seattle gets the victory over the Chargers 16-3, and then the Cardinals got beat at the final part of the game 16-14. And by the way, the game tonight for you got Dallas taking on the Rams. That's actually at 3:30. And then the game, the Denver Broncos are taking on the Indianapolis Colts today. That'll take care of week number 1. Jaguars, obviously, they get their victory as far as that game, and obviously watched that game all the way through. So it was nice to be able to get the victory and go up on top and and there is a guy right there in Doug Peterson. And I know for a fact that people, and I do too. I love me some Doug Peterson, but this guy's on the hot seat. So we're going to jump into that as far as that is concerned. Now, that being said, I wanted people to take a look at what they're doing for the kickoffs and how it's going to look. And this is how it looks, kind of like, putting it together. Yes, I stole the graphic. I'm not going to sit there and do this all day. So I stole it from Pat McAfee and made it my own. But this is where everybody starts. This is where they're going to kick off at the 35. Everybody at the line at the 40 and 35, and then the landing zone. Now, this is kind of what it looks like in a cartoon. This is what it looks like as far as humans, looking at it as human way. So, and I don't know. I just, yes, it's exciting. And yes, the Jaguars did really good on the kickoffs, by the way, so that was nice to see, the Jaguars be able to, do something well. But I don't know. I'm not sold upon this kickoff. I am not sold at all. I just, to me, it takes it's so much of a big change. Now, if it was a little change, it'd be different, but it's so much of a change that I can't. It's really hard to even watch.
Well, look at it this way. Look who went to the Hall of Fame this year, Devin Hester.
Mm-hmm.
He was a brilliant kickoff return specialist. This is going to add a different dimension to NFL teams. Mm-hmm. Looking for that player that is your breakaway kickoff returner to where now they're actually in play. And look, I get it. It takes away from what we've all been accustomed to for so long. But they've always tweaked things little by little. This is just a broad jump. Okay, this may work. This may not work. This is going to limit concussions, and this is going to. I know that you always hear about the concussion protocols they got here. How many times on a kickoff do we see someone get knocked out of the game?
Oh yeah,
constantly. So, as opposed to having a running start and to a team that's defenseless at that time, this gives both sides an opportunity to get prepared. Maybe it's a change for the better, for the betterment of the players, more so than for the fans. Because I'm sure as we're sitting there on TV, we're sitting there going, that don't look right. This looks like something
No
jacked
idea.
up out of a video game. Yeah, but again, they had two teams had touchdowns run back yesterday, I believe. And this is supposed to build excitement for the fans, especially if you're the home team, right? So, this is going to be a new dynamic, and I think you might see higher scores because of it too. Because what happens when you score? Kick the ball right back off. They can score again as well. This can be back and forth, back and forth, back and forth until we see one offensive play.
Yeah, and I kind of compared that a little bit with my passion of indoor football, of how that can end up happening. Believe me, I've saw games where there'd be a kickoff for a return. They turn right around, do the same thing. I once seen 3 in a row, 3 plays in a row. They were all kickoff returns for indoor football, and it does. It creates an excitement about the game. It creates things, and I get it, but it's hard to get out of the old school mentality of what a football game is all about. So it's stepping. Everybody says, well, Sonny, come on, why don't you get into the 21st century? I get it and understand. So I'm trying to work on this. Well, we have Cuervo on the show, younger dude, as far as that is concerned, to try to keep me up to date, but so far I hadn't worked. But
well, but also you think about this. So think of the dynamic as the NFL wants there to be more points, more excitement,
of course,
more chances that not have a lopsided game as it would be. They really don't want to have 45-0 games.
right?
They want to have competitive games, and this can actually help a team that doesn't have the offensive manpower or the defensive manpower to really stop teams, but they got that one player that's extremely special on special teams that can make or break a difference. And I'm saying he's not going to win the game, but they'll keep the other team into it. So I understand the dynamic of this. Like you said, visually, it looks very upsetting because it looks like indoor football. But, at the end of the day, they have the right to sit there and go, we're going to try this. If this works, we're going to keep doing it. If this doesn't work, we'll go back and we'll push the kickoff team back to be on the 50. So, we'll see what happens. Once again, if this limits concussions, which is their number one priority, because remember, they were a league who was sued by former NFL players and lost a lot of money. Yeah. So they are protecting their interests. They're protecting the players' best interest. And at the end of the day, the fans will find a way. Because once again, this is like a light switch for a lot of people.
Sometimes I get it.
I don't like this. This really sucks. Oh, cool. The guy for the Cowboys scored a touchdown. They never score on a kickoff return. Well, shoot, I'm all in for this now.
Yeah, exactly.
Trust me, I've been on that end of the table to where I'm like, well, we never get a kickoff return. It's rare when we do. The only person I ever saw do it was Dion. So and that was how long ago?
Yeah, so, the electric portion of it.
I think Clinton was in office at that time. So, something
like that.
I don't remember Dallas getting a kickoff returner in the Reagan era. So, just saying.
Now, that being said,
I get all this, so I'm cool with it.
That being said, I was thinking about where certain guys are going to end up and how they're going to be, who's under, and I saw this graphic. I'm going to put it up because I thought it was really interesting, because the relationship between head coach and players, they're important. I don't want to make it sound like it's not important, but it's more about the head coach to the quarterback if it's an offensive minded coach. So, when I saw the rankings here of these players or these coaches, and you weren't on when we were talking about it, I found number 5 probably the most interesting. As far as, speaking of indoor football, that's where Matt LaFleur comes from. the indoor football world, and he put it together with one Aaron Rodgers and had a pretty successful year the first year with Jordan Love. And but the rankings really interesting as far as who is where and why. So I go with the why. I think Matt LaFleur is this up and coming guy out from underneath the shadow of his own quarterback, right? I mean, this is a guy who gets the opportunity to say, now you can see me as an NFL head coach. First year, pretty successful. What's going to happen this year and the new contract with their quarterback is huge. So, but interestingly enough, the top 10 doesn't have your boy on there, don't have my guy on there. And I don't see the Bears on there. The only one, as far as anybody on here, is Bryce's number 6. Mike Tomlin, and Obi's Kevin Stefanski. So when you're looking at this graphic there, Trey Mack, is there anything that you see that says, hey, there's someone on this that shouldn't be there, and this guy should be there instead? What's your look up on these rankings here?
Well, I mean, Dan Quinn is a defensive specialist, and he's with the Washington team. So we'll see how good the Washington defense is going to look this year.
Right. After coming from, where did he come from? The Atlanta Falcons. Yeah, he was the Falcons.
Well, he also came from Dallas too.
Yeah, but as
a
head coach, though.
Yeah. So the Harbaughs are on there.
Harbaugh, man, you want to talk about a guy who was saved by a quarterback, Lamar Jackson, because before that guy hit the field, man, they were questioning whether or not Harbaugh should be staying in Baltimore. So
this is a make or break for John Harbaugh this year, because this is the year that he's going to have to do it. Otherwise, they're going to look at that salary they're paying Lamar Jackson. They're going to look at him and go, okay, well, we're paying a little bit too much money to be a team that can't even get out of its own shadow right now.
You have a point as far as, because Mike McCarthy is the same way, right? I mean,
yeah. Well, here's the thing though. Mike McCarthy's got a lame duck season going on right now, so
I don't know how that's going to work.
I mean, everybody knows this, so that's the thing though. I mean, this is not news to him. I don't think he's sitting there saying, well, can't wait for Jared to send me that big check. I want to be with the Cowboys another 5 years. I don't think he's doing that. I think he knows that his shelf life is coming to an end here. And if it's make or break, he's got to win, because if he doesn't win, he's out. And Bill Belichick or whoever else is going to come into Dallas' team or whoever, like I said, I'm just throwing out, because again, remember, this is the same man, Jerry Jones, that went and got Bill Parcells. Bill Belichick is pretty much Bill Jr. So, so it just is what it is, right? Because he's going to do whatever it takes to keep everybody talking about his sub 500 team. So, which is amazing, because a team that hasn't done shit in almost 30 years, still the most talked about team in NFL franchise history. Which I don't understand why, because again, like you said earlier, like the Jacksonville Jaguars, they're going on 30 years, haven't quite sniffed the Super Bowl yet.
One opportunity and the one other year, I think it was the year after.
One or two times they've been in the Final Four, but it's been a minute.
Been definitely a minute.
Yeah,
so you're talking 90s.
Yeah, which I can say the same about the Cowboys. So
just a little bit longer than the Cowboys.
So it is what I mean. It's sad that like Tampa Bay has been to 2 Super Bowls since then, and won them both. So, which by the way, that was always a team that was always on the fringe of they'll never win anything ever because of those god awful creamsicle jerseys or whatever else.
I loved them.
I love them too. I love them too, because I mean, when I play them on Madden, I'm always changing their colors to the orange, because that between that and the Oilers, You know, I always like the Oilers blue because it's different from your blue that you're wearing right now. It's a little more darker.
Powder blue.
Yeah. So, but which I'm hoping that Tennessee breaks out again this year, but we'll see.
Now, you know, I just saw a report about the tenderness of Dak's ankles. That can't be good, especially after that injury. You know, out there, and it said ankles, not one. It said ankles. So that's something. And playoff wins is always a big story, right? Dak's got 2 playoff wins. Here's the list here. You got to be able to recognize who those guys are. I can get them all the way down to the and I know I know all of number 1. I know and all the way up. So I know, but I just by the pictures, I can't tell who some of those guys are. But hey, I know some of them, but no playoff wins. And by the way, oh my God, Gardner Minshew is the slated starter for the Raiders. Oh my God, that's another story in itself. But it's all about playoff wins, right? You know, and in order to get any kind of experience before you bring home a trophy, you got to win 4 of the playoff games. So Dak might have another year to wait, you know, if he gets a playoff win. I don't know. But the Super Bowl, right, you know, as far as active players right now, you got an opportunity here for certain guys to do what they got to do, with Matthew Stafford getting a trophy, Wilson, Aaron Rodgers, but obviously the guy that's bringing it home and looking the best. And look at that. You got 3 Super Bowls. You got 15 wins. You got to win 4 games usually, depending, unless you got the bye. You got to win 4 games to get there. So, you know, not that
he's almost played an additional season because of that.
Exactly. It's kind of where I was headed toward that. And also think about this, you know, as far as, you know, a guy that, you know, has so much potential going into what they were doing and what team he could have been on. I always look at the Bears going, you know, because the Bears had the opportunity to grab this guy up. And that's the reason why you see Caleb Williams over in, you know.
And boy, was the NFL Network guys all over him yesterday.
I
was listening to their commentary about it. I'm sitting there going, God, Sonny's got to be pulling whatever hair out of his beard right now.
My beard. I'm pulling it out. It's driving me nuts. It's just like,
between him and the quarterback for Washington, they were going batshit crazy. I mean, they kept showing again and again and again the highlight of a pass that should have been intercepted. I mean, really. I mean, the guy was in close quarters of the defender, and the guy was able to make the catch. Good for him. That would not have worked in Madden. I mean, I'm pretty sure it'd been batted away. But I mean,
they're third stringers for a reason. That's just like
well, yeah, but this guy is supposed to be your starter, I believe.
Yep.
And I'm like, you ain't gonna do that in the regular season, because you're gonna have guys like Deron Bland, who had a monster year last year. Will they have a field day with a guy like him, or a guy like Trayvon Diggs, who's itching to get back into the game right now? I mean, you're gonna have a lot of guys who are going to be
injured last year toward the end, right?
Yeah, he got hurt earlier in the season, was knocked out for the remainder of the year. So
yeah,
which is what brought on Bland and made him the star player that he was. So, I mean, you know, opportunity knocked for him, so it's good for him. I mean, but then again, you know, this is what kept Dallas's defense in games for most of the year. Of course, it all fell apart in the playoffs. But, you know, I mean, again, we talk about the facade of the Jacksonville Jaguars last year. I was more worried about the facade of the Cowboys going into the final 4 games of the year, because no matter how they looked, it ain't going to matter until you get into January.
Absolutely.
And when January hit and the Packers came to town, when everybody was, and I might have been guilty of this too, when everybody was so sure that Dallas was going to take on Jordan Love and beat the living shit out of them, none of them showed up. And you can fault Dak Prescott with that all you want to, because he did make the turnovers, which he hadn't made all year long. That defense did nothing to help him out all game long.
I remember thinking about the Dallas Cowboys and obviously the pressure that Dak Prescott's under. But again, you got to go back when you're scoring in between 28 and 32 points, you win football games in the NFL, unless your defense is not there. And you say whatever you want about Dak Prescott, and we could go back to the graphic, two playoff wins. But I'm telling you right now, it could be more, should be more, based upon kind of for the last 2 years as the defenses let them down. But obviously, what do they always say? The quarterbacks get too much credit and they get too much of the criticism, especially with the Dak Prescott. And I always think about this, Dak Prescott, was this really the place for him to be? And I say yes. And the reason being of what team it was, I don't know if we get the same Dak Prescott if he goes to the Atlanta Falcons, if he goes to Carolina. I don't know if we're getting the same thing because of the commitment of finding guys. This year, they're not finding guys. This year, they're not paying guys. They are bankrolling on two things. Number one, last year of Mike McCarthy, and number two, they actually played well last year, and they want to keep rolling with it. Now, say whatever you want, and then all the rumors that the Dallas Cowboys could be sold. That was the big story this past week, right? I mean, we're seeing all this about the Dallas Cowboys might be sold. But if this is the actual case, might be sold, do you want to go out with this football team in reality, or what? I don't know. So Jerry's confusing me. Normally Jerry never confuses me. Normally he doesn't. But now he's kind of confusing me, which makes me kind of wonder where he is mentally as far as trying to win again. It seems like he's almost, with the talks of someone selling. I can't even believe we're even listening to stories about the Dallas Cowboys up for sale.
You've seen the HBO show Succession, haven't you?
Say that again?
You've seen the HBO show Succession, right?
Yes, I have.
That's all this is.
Yes.
It's who's going to be the next in line.
Right.
And it's going to be Steven. We know this because, once again, there's no reason why with Jerry Jones never looks at the Cowboys since they started winning back in the 90s. It looked at a year and says, we lost money. He has never lost money with this team. He's always gained money, notoriety, everything that comes with it. Marketing, even with the losses, because again, you and I are football fans, right? We sit there and look at the losses and go, that's everything.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry is like, no, it's not. And it pisses us off because that's how we view sports. There's a winner and there's a loser. And there's a championship game that has the two winners that they play each other. You get the one solid winner. Jerry looks at it like this. The Cowboys have got that star out there in Arlington. We're going to get Tyson and Jake Paul come out here eventually. We're going to have college football. We're going to have the NCAA basketball there. We got concerts galore. We got this. We got WrestleMania twice already. We got this. We got that. We got this. We got that. So he's looking at it's like saying the team might suck, but he's doing fine.
Right. Oh,
and as long as he's under that umbrella of the Cowboys owner, that's a brand name for him.
Absolutely.
And it'll be a brand name for Steven and Jerry Jr. and whoever else is going to be taking.
That's if they make the moves that Jerry Jones makes. Listen, that guy goes out on a limb on some things. I don't know if I don't know him and I don't know his personality. I've only seen
much like Jerry. It's much like Jerry.
If he's like that, he'll take that chance that, listen, the Tyson Paul fight, I thought for sure would be in Las Vegas. And the fact that they were going to try to fill that stadium with, and have that fight there, is amazing in itself, just because of how huge the place is. I
Because it's
mean,
Mike Tyson.
exactly. And Tyson still brings a ticket. He still brings people that will pay to see him.
And also, you know, Mike Tyson, he's become like the Snoop Dogg of boxing. You know,
I I
yes,
think
we know
you're right.
we know of his past, we know of what he went to jail for. But you want to talk about turning a negative into a positive, of all things to turn into a negative. I mean, he is sweet. He's lovable. No one thought we'd see this out of Mike Tyson. We thought we'd just see this guy. He'd be back in jail in no time. But no, he's fun loving. He knows his brand,
Yep.
and his brand is what's selling. I mean, let's face it.
He
People
knows
are
how he knows how to sell himself. There's no question.
people want to see Jake Paul get knocked on his ass.
Yes, they do.
Okay, because he's not a regular boxer. This is
Right.
what he does, but he's not a regular boxer who can go in there and mix it up with some of the true heavyweights in the business. Now he's taking on an aging former champion, you know, but an aging former champion whose right hook I would never want to be a part of.
Oh,
So
God.
I mean, so
You see that video that's out on YouTube of his knockouts? You know, if you ever
yeah,
sat and watched them, it's that always sneak one that's going up, man. That does
it's
the
that
most.
quick left hook that he always nailed people
Man.
on. Is yeah. So, well, I mean, Jerry is a businessman first and foremost. He may be an NFL owner, but he is a businessman first and foremost. And to the
Mhm.
day he dies, you know, when Steven or who else is going to take over that team, that's going to be the moniker. Now, do I think things will change once Steven gets in charge? I don't think Steven will be the general manager. I don't think that'll happen. I think that's too big of a hat for him to wear because
He's supposedly the co-general manager.
right, but he's not. But only because he's not the owner.
Right. Okay.
But if you make him the owner, he's going to go find someone to be the general manager and what now, whether it's Jerry Jr. or whoever else, I have no idea. But I would like to think that he would look at that. Hey, it could be Troy Aikman for all we know. You know, I mean, he's had talks about wanting to be a general manager, and for him to be the general manager of the Dallas Cowboys, that's like John Elway being the general manager of the Broncos.
Yeah, and which, by the way, was a complete dog crap, era for the Broncos, even though he was so beloved because of what he did as the
They
quarterback.
they
But
they needed brand names, right?
yes,
Because they already had Peyton Manning and they had DeMarcus Ware and they had player. By the way, under John Elway's regime, he won a Super Bowl or two.
yes,
So
but
dog crap all wants to. The guy won. I mean, he's don't you think the Denver Broncos would love to have two more Super Bowls right now?
yeah,
I mean, we can sit here and piss on that all we want to because of the results we got later, but think about the results he had beforehand. I mean, under his regime, he got two rings with Peyton Manning, with DeMarcus Ware, with people who were probably already brought onto the team before he got there.
right,
But it don't matter because again, Barry got a ring with Dallas. Even if he had Jimmy's team, he ain't like he's gonna send the ring to Jimmy and say thanks a lot, appreciate it. You
right.
know, I mean, he ain't gonna do that. So Barry got a ring because of someone else's hard work. That's how sports work.
And I go John Gruden with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. It's just he got that team, all set and ready to go. All he had to do is steer the ship to see if they could get where it was at. But now I showed you that one graphic about the coaches that they're hot seat guys, and these are only the top 5 because my guy Peterson for the Jaguars is on this one.
Mm-hmm.
So and I think he's a top 5 guy that's going to be on the way out. I don't disagree with the only one I disagree with is number 3. Okay.
See, I disagree. I disagree with number 5.
Well, yes and no. And the only reason why Dable got that job is because of what everybody was looking at Josh Allen before he went to New York and what a great job he did with the Josh Allen. And since he's been gone, Josh Allen is not, maybe producing as much as he or some other people would think that he should be at. That having been said, hasn't done anything with his own quarterback in Jones. I mean, Jones is not anything to write home to mama about whatsoever. And that puts him on the hot seat. Never mind the fact that the contract, when they signed it, again, was ridiculous. But really, now the way that the salaries are going for the quarterbacks, it's almost midstream, in reality, but still too high for a guy that has not been able to do anything. And the Bears, obviously, they got to do something. I don't think they have to. I think they just have to be respectful. I think they got to just finish. He saves his job going over 500, going under 500. They'll be re-looking at him. And speaking of the Bears, did you get the opportunity to watch the Hard Knocks on the Bears, the first episode that was on Tuesday?
I've not yet, no.
I have not watched it. Interesting. And that's where my statement in the chat room that we have amongst hosts, I watched the whole hour, and the one thing that I've seen through the whole thing, and it stands out to me because I'm an old school guy, is that guy never went underneath center. And that I know that is the way that a lot of teams are going, to where most of the quarterbacks, but the old school in me, you got to be able to do both. And if you can't do both, it affects your game. So if you can't stay in the pocket and you can't get underneath center, it's going to affect the way that you play as a quarterback. Now, maybe they're thinking that's too much on him too quick. I don't know. But he better get up under center at some point during his career, because if he's going to stay back there and that, I think that's just going to kill his potential of being a more dynamic quarterback than he already has, and he hasn't even taken it. He took snaps last night.
Well, let me ask you a question. Did he play out the shotgun in college?
Yeah, yes, but I think that's the point. Oh, hey, Tom McManus, let's see what he's got to say. He's going to all right. So Tom McManus is going to be at the top of the hour here in a couple of minutes. So now that being said, all right. So and let me answer him just really quick. But college in the NFL is cool. See you then. But college and the NFL, they're two different things. I mean,
they are, but the thing is, though, is that if they're finding a way to make the quarterback comfortable, because that's a big part of it. It's a new school, and again, people don't like change. I kind of like this, but you can still hand the ball off in a shotgun. You can still hand the ball off and make your running back move, go left to right, do that, or go straight ahead.
Yeah, I'm
just saying you're giving the quarterback a 3-yard separation from the defensive line, and you're also given the idea that this guy can run, he can pass. You're showing him as a dual, if not just a tri-threat or whatnot, whatever, a triple threat, because he can run himself, or he can throw, and giving him that 3-yard separation, especially with a guy who's really fast, can be more beneficial, because once again, he can run like a speed option out of there.
Well, here's the thing. As far as that's concerned, completely agree with you. The other part of it is that they don't want him to be Justin Fields, which is, the thing, right. And which is what's really kind of shocks me about how he's playing that position. But of course, it's new school, it's new look, and everything else that is going on. So I find it very interesting. Now, before we jump into it, let's do this. Let's take care of some of the things. Let's take a quick break here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. We're going to be back here in about 2 minutes, and then we're going to get at the top of the hour, the man of the hour, I call him, as he always, number 55, Mr. Tom McManus. So we're going to take the quick break here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. We'll be right back.
Hey, Ryan Reynolds here. Big Wireless has once again raised their prices. In response, we're bringing back our deflation promotion. The marketing department asked me to be as explicit as possible when explaining it. So here we go. Because we don't love f***ing our customers over like Big Wireless. We're bringing back our offer for f***ing unlimited premium wireless for only $15 a month. F*** me to the moon and back. That's a great f***ing deal. Explicit enough marketing Recently, and for no reason at all, I asked Mint Mobile's legal team if big wireless companies are allowed to raise prices due to inflation. They said yes. And then when I asked if raising prices technically violates those onerous 2-year contracts, they said, "What the f*** are you talking about, you insane Hollywood ass f- Do you know how big their legal department is, face?" So to recap, Mint is actually lowering prices on every plan to just $15 a month. And I will stay the hell out of the legal department.
And welcome back into the Couch Potato Sports Show alongside the Podfather Trey Mack. I'm Sonny Clark, the hardest working man in sports radio. And Trey Mack, what's going on with your camera?
I have no idea.
It looks like you're frozen in the green room, so you might want to hop back out and hop back in. I don't know. What do you think? I hear you.
I'll be back in a second.
All right, so we'll lose him for just a moment. We'll get him back in. Top of the hour here in a few moments. Listen, I've been doing the show now 15 years. Okay, all right, and a guy that's been consistent because he was my favorite player. I mean, say whatever you want when you got, I love the fact that I've had this relationship with Tom McManus over the years, and coming on the show always, of course we get him when it's convenient for him and he's not too busy, which is always a good thing, but always willing to come up on the show, and we appreciate that. He's going to be here at the top of the hour here in just a moment. I hope he meant the top of this hour in his message. Might be running just a little bit late, but we're going to be talking about the AFC West or the AFC South as far as this week is concerned. We're only doing one division because Cuervo is not here. We will review the division with him as we'll go ahead and cut up the Tom McManus section of the show segment and put it up to where people can see it. We're obviously talk about it. So I'm excited about having Tom McManus back up on the show as consistent with us for over the 15 years that we've been doing this. 13. I grabbed up McManus after my first year, so he's been part of the show just as long as Cuervo has been part of the show. So it's been kind of exciting about that. So that being said, of course, that's the name of the show. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to take just a quick break. I need 1 minute, two things. I need to get some coffee, and number two, I need to make some adjustments. We'll be back here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. Sorry about that, guys. Hold on. And I'm back. Sorry about that, guys. I had to go get me some coffee and get set for what we're doing here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. All right, thanks for the hold there, and had to get make sure that I was all set for Tom McManus when he joins us here. All right, so that being said, Jaguars get the victory last night. Good, better, and different. That being said, I saw a lot in the game, and I was excited about what I saw in the game from last night. Watched it, and they get the victory. And listen, it don't mean anything, right? You get the victory, it really doesn't mean anything, but at the same time, it's better than the loss. I'd much rather go into the next week with the win than the loss for the Jaguars. But that being said, of course, that's the name of this show. You know, it's always good to hit the second week, and there he is, right in the green room, looking good himself. Let's bring him on in. Yes, the one, the only. And I got my jersey on today, feeling really good about that as well. Bring him, Mr. Tom McManus. How you doing, my friend? Good to see you. Oh, wait, hold on one second. I gotta add you there. There you go. How you doing?
There you go. I'm doing great,
Hey,
Sonny.
going old school. Suck it up. I love it. I remember
right.
those.
Oh, yeah. Still live them every day, right?
Absolutely. You got every single day.
Nice jersey, man. Looking good. Double
Yeah.
nickel.
Got the double nickel working today and feeling good about that. And so since we got you here and you obviously watched the game, did you go to the game or did you watch it?
I didn't go to the game. I watched it, and then I just literally about 20 minutes ago got done rewatching it. So I watched the tape. Yeah, that's some good stuff. You know, you can't. It's first preseason game, and you can't get carried away one way or the other. Now, what you do like to see is your first team units do well against the opposing team's first team units. That didn't really come to fruition last night. I mean, Mahomes took it right down the field. They bent, didn't break. They held them to a field goal, but it was one drive down the field goal. Then they're done for the entire game. And that wasn't just Mahomes. That was the entire first team offense. So, you know, again, you just keep it in perspective. But some good stuff last night for sure.
Absolutely, and I love the fact they get the win. So I want to first of all, before we go, how's your mother-in-law? How's she doing? I know that
she's doing a lot better. Thank you. Yeah,
good.
She's home and resting.
Good.
Thanks
glad
for
of that.
asking.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. No, she actually. I was thinking about her all week before we could get you on the show. I'm glad that she's okay. Yeah. So, all right. So let's talk about the first thing that I wanted to get your opinion about is the setup, okay? The new kickoff, and obviously the Jaguars, if you watched the game like I did, you seen they had success with the new setup as far as the kickoff is concerned. So that being said, when you're looking at that, what was your take up on the new kickoff, how that's going to work? Now, obviously, this is 11 through 63 or how many is on there. How did that look, and what do you think? Is that going to be a strong point for the Jaguars moving into the season?
You know, look, that was my first, other than out of camp, because I go to camp practice and go on the field and watch it. They've practiced it a couple of times. That was my first real glimpse at it. I mean, Parker Washington had a hell of a return. I mean, that was insane. He
a couple catches, too.
He better hold on to that ball. You know, he's got it like a loaf of bread. Remember we used to say, the guy who holds it away from his body, you're holding it like a loaf of bread. I don't know who holds a loaf of bread like that. You know, normally just grab it by the end, I think. But nonetheless, he's got to tighten that up. But, you know, I'll tell you what's going to happen, Sonny, at least I think. I think team's just going to kick it in the end zone. Give you the ball to 30 and not take the risk.
Yes.
You know, or if you're good enough, you know, and pinpoint it with skipping it one time, you know, in that 20 to the touchdown line, you know, then maybe you get them at the 20. But you're not going to risk big plays against your team when, I don't know, I mean, all it takes is a crease. You know, all it takes is one. I'm surprised we don't see more safety valves. You know, I wouldn't attack all my guys. I'd have 2 safety valves to make sure that if the guy breaks, I'm going to have a guy there to tackle him.
Right.
I think teams are going to get pretty strategic with it. And if I get a really good defense, screw it. Take the ball on the 30. You can punt to my, other 20, and I'll be fine.
Yeah, absolutely. And you're only going 70 yards to get to the end zone, so that's a good thing for a team moving forward and getting the advantage. 70 instead of what could be back there, but big playabilities and that. And so I want to preface this because I'm not a fan of Mac Jones. I just thought there were a lot of good other options for the Jaguars. Obviously, first round draft pick. I get the kind of politics when you look at it, but I've also saw what he did with Bill Belichick, not having the success that you think that he really should have. Of course, there were a lot of other changes up on top of that, but you kind of expected more. He gets into the game, looks like a Super Bowl quarterback, which he should against the seconds and thirds. He should play well. He should hit the open man. Every quarterback can hit the open man. It's about what he's going to do. He made one good pass that it was perfect. It had to be where it was going to be. What's your take up on Mac Jones, what you've seen last night, and the expectations of him?
Well, look, I think, him coming out in the same class as Trevor, they scouted him really heavy, right? Like everybody else. So
right.
I think when they looked at who would be available, they felt like he was a good fit for their offense. I tell you again, last night against, not first teamers, but he ran the offense very efficiently. And I think he made some really good throws. That should have been a touchdown. I mean, I know it would have been a tough catch for DeGuara, I think his name is, number 81, Josiah DeGuara. He made a great catch before, like that was that throw I think you're talking about, where the guy caught it, got hit right away. But I thought Matt played pretty well over. I think he played well enough where if I'm Doug Peterson, I want to see him start, the next game, or at least get the majority of the playing time against, better competition, if you will. But overall, he played pretty well last night. I think all quarterbacks did. We love Bedford. Bedford's a tough son of a gun, man. He took a couple shots last night. He made some good throws. He made some underthrows. And by the way, this is the thing with underthrows. So like that throw down the sideline to Brian Thomas Jr.
Yes.
Was it late? Like he's not used to the speed? You know what I mean? You got to get used to that kind of speed to know when to throw that ball, because you may sit there like, oh man, underthrew. He doesn't have the arm. He might have just thrown it late.
Absolutely.
And then you're never going to get it there. So I think he's got to work on that. But hey, look, I thought all three quarterbacks played well. Trevor played well overall. The fourth down where he took a sack, I looked at it, a few times. Ingram was open. Look, we're not in the seat. You know what I mean? I'm watching it on film. I'm not in his shoes at that time, but it looked like he could have got it off. I'm sure he would have taken a shot, so maybe that was part of it. I just hope that this is more speculation than anything, right? Because it's early and it doesn't really mean much. But I hope I think he lost the trust of his offensive line last year. I really do. And you couldn't blame him because he got killed all year long for the most part. I hope he's, that's not, still there. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like it might have gotten better. I mean, I know Mitch Morse is an upgrade for sure. Brandon Scherf, it looks like he's back to his old self. So Ezra Cleveland didn't play last night, but I don't know. I looked at that a few times. That was the only blemish for me and Trevor was get that throw to Ingram, and who knows what happens. That'd have been a great play.
Look at that defensive side of the ball. What was your take up on it? Obviously, you had a good performance last week or last night, as far as holding back. But again, preseason. But a guy who studies the game, such as you, what was your take up on some of the things? Because I seen, obviously, when you get the win, you hold them down to 13 points. That's always good. But I seen a lot of passes that were completed in the secondary that I'm wondering where the coverage was. What was your take up on what you seen on the defensive side, especially in the secondary, as far as coverage is concerned?
Well, look, I think the first team defense didn't look very good. Now, granted, it was a small sample size, 5-6 plays. I thought the Kansas City Chiefs kept them off balance, with their misdirections and whatnot. Look, I don't think the coverage was terrible by any means. Those misdirections will screw you up. And especially when it's the first preseason game or early in a game, could be regular season or whatever game. You want to go forward. Then they throw that misdirection on you. You're like, oh, shit.
Obviously.
Turn and come back and try to catch up. But, no, I like their guys. Some guys stood out last night on defense. And again, it's tough to measure, right? You can only measure what you see out there, and you got to put it, you got to put a curve on it. So you look at a guy like Miles Cole, the 7th round pick of this year's draft. He made a bunch of good plays. Probably a handful of good plays. DJ Coleman, he made some plays last night. But then you got, okay, well, are we gonna see him against? Next week's gonna be weird because Tampa comes to town. They're gonna practice against Tampa Wednesday and Thursday, and then play the game. Word is the starters aren't gonna play in the game. They're gonna use the 2 days of practice as their game.
Right.
So week 2 against Tampa in the preseason, you're gonna see a lot of the backups playing. And having a chance, we'll probably go against their backups as well. It's going to be an odd week as far as evaluating. I'm telling you what right now, man. You better be excelling in practice if you're on the ball. Because you don't get a lot of opportunities in the game. You got some last night, and some guys made the most of them, no doubt about it. But after this week, I don't know when you're going to be able to shine again.
Trey Mack is back. Welcome back into the Podfather himself. Good to see him back in here.
Yeah.
And I'm going to throw it to you, Trey. You got a question for Tom McManus from, catching up with Tommy Mack, which watch twice a week. I wish you were on every day. And then I catch you when you do the other thing with the other guys from the station. So you got any questions there, Trey Mack, for Mr. Tom McManus regarding the Jaguars?
Well, actually, it's not so much regarding the Jaguars as much as about the NFL now. Me and Sonny were talking about it earlier about the new kickoff situation that they're doing now. What's your thoughts about that? I mean, obviously, the old school people will look at that and go, "I don't like this. This is not indoor football. We don't want this kind of crap." But the NFL, as you know, has been hit with concussion lawsuits and everything else, and they're trying to find ways to minimize the concussions on the field. Do you think doing it this way would actually help them on that?
I don't know, man. I looking at it up close up when they were working the drills in practice, seeing last night. Okay, so let's break it down. There's still going to be major collisions, like a kickoff. 40-yard run, 20-yard run, whatever. You're still going to have major collisions on the return. So those concussions aren't going to change, in my opinion. The frontline guys, sure, you shouldn't get concussed from 5 or 7 yards or whatever, 10 yards away from each other. I get that. However, in the old kickoff rules, the only guys that used to get concussed were the guys that broke up the wedge.
Right.
The front guys don't. They're playing basketball. They're like just trying to stay in front of a guy. They're not knocking anyone. You know what I mean? So I don't know who they're trying. So is it just the wedge guys? Well, you took the wedge out, so it's no longer there. I don't know. To me, like I was saying to Sonny earlier, I think eventually, teams are just gonna either kick it in the end zone and say, take it at the 30, or try to keep it in that 20-yard zone and take it at the 20.
Yep.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Because look, what you saw with Parker Washington, a great play by the young man.
Mm-hmm.
But if that's how things are going to go against my kickoff team, I'm not giving them a chance to do it.
Yep.
Until we figure that out.
But is this the NFL like saying, look, we got to make the kickoffs more exciting because kicking it through the end zone isn't exciting and it's kind of a wasted play. So now hopefully getting some run backs and hopefully getting, some, live action stuff going on under the umbrella that, look, we're still trying to quote unquote protect people, kind of, but this will, because the one thing I told Sonny earlier, look who went to the Hall of Fame this year. Devin, it was Hester,
Devin Hester,
right?
Yeah,
Devin Hester, right?
Yeah.
So he went to the Hall of Fame, and this might give a chance for someone like, God forbid, a Deuce Vaughn or someone like that who has got great speed, probably can't run behind an offensive line very well, but can do a lot on the kickoff return. You think that they're opening the doors for people like that now?
I don't know, man. I always thought like a kickoff return for a touchdown or a long return is such a special play. It doesn't happen all the time, right? It rarely happens in a game. Maybe in one game a guy will get 2, maybe 3, but the majority of the time he's getting tackled around the 20, 25, maybe beforehand. So let me ask you guys this new rule. What if all of a sudden we see a bunch of touchdowns, which, by the way, the XFL supposedly didn't. I didn't watch it, but supposedly that's the reports. Let's just say they do. Isn't after a while you're going to be like, I don't know. That,
I think a lot of it.
It almost waters it down almost. Like it's not special then anymore.
Exactly.
It's just another
It does.
play, I guess. I don't know.
It does, but at the same time, I'm thinking the NFL is sitting there going, we don't want to have 45-0 blowouts every week. So if this helps keep a team into the game somehow, some way, let's do it this way.
Scoring. That's all they care about. They care about those quarterbacks being protected, and that offense has put up a shit ton of points.
Absolutely.
Because of fantasy. All that stuff's goodbye.
How about a guy losing his job because they can't figure out how to defend that as well, too? You lose a guy that you really value on your team on that and stuff. You want the scoring to be different, I think, more so, and have the every once in a while on the kickoff return to be special.
Yeah, and by the way, we don't know any better than what we know after the first week, right, or 2 weeks. So maybe it gets better. I don't know. I mean, I see what you're saying, but I don't know. I'm worried that it'll get watered down and it won't be that special anymore. You know what I mean? But maybe
it's life. Everything gets watered down after a while, so you know.
All right, so there you go. All right, so that being said, the Jaguars. This is a football team that's got a lot to prove. Obviously, the injury to Trevor last year, losing last 5 of their 6 is not what they wanted to see going in. So they got to live on what could have been and how they should have done it. So taking a look at the Jaguars, I'm going to throw this up here. You see the rankings on where they were, what they did, how they did it, and where they are. And then you look at the schedule. The schedule is friggin' brutal, Tom. I'm telling you right now, it is brutal, and you don't get a break. And if you want to call it a break, you get it on October 6th with the Colts, and and that's a division game. So and then the Patriots, depending on what you think about that. The first part of this season is going to be brutal for the Jaguars when they move forward, especially, looking at the numbers where they were last year as far as the passing defense is the thing that really, really stands out on the whole thing. Obviously, their totals, it should be higher as far as the defense is concerned. So when you're looking at those numbers and where they finished at 9-8, 1 game away from the playoffs, which they should have been in. And the problem is that defense made that backup quarterback in Cincinnati look like a friggin' Hall of Famer. And they have got to step it up on the defense, because what Trevor did, even when he was injured, Tom, they should have won at least 3 of those football games, and that would have put them at least 2. I would have said 3, but that would have put them in the playoff in a different frame of mind.
They could have beat Cincy. I shouldn't say should have. That's disrespectful. But they could have beat Cincy. Probably should have beat Cincy. Look, that's why Doug fired Caldwell, the defense coordinator, like the day after the season was over. It wasn't working. Ryan Nielsen's totally different approach. I love this guy, man. And I love the way he builds the defense. It's all about pressure. It's all about suffocating. It's all about getting in their face and making sure that they don't disrupt your defense. And what do I mean by they? Outside guys, the corners. It's funny. His first press conference, he's like, I know a lot of people out there think it's all the rush. He goes, in my defense, it's the corners. And you can kind of see what he means by that, because that man press, they play press 2 coverage and man for the most part. They'll do some quarters and things like that, without a doubt. But those corners are pressed up there, and I tell you what, their coverage has been tight all camp long. I'll tell you this about my Jaguars, okay? And look, man, I don't know if they're, and I hope they are listed, because I love them. They know I love them. I've been saying all off season that they had to get more physical. I've been saying before camp, like, you gotta hit the camp. Last year there was no hitting. There was no violence. It was crazy. I mean, they were working hard. They were running a shit ton of plays. They were getting their conditioning. They were doing all this stuff. Don't get me wrong. It was competitive to a certain degree, but there was no full contact. There was no goal line scrimmages. They didn't tackle to the ground to the last day of camp, and I was just like, man, Because I believe everyone out there, that's old school, but I think it's true. I still believe it to be true. You garner your grit and your toughness in camp. You garner what you're going to be. This is what we're going to be. We're going to be physical. Well, let me tell you something. This camp has been so much more physical than I've seen out of Doug Peterson. And it's fantastic. They've been in full pads a ton. They went full to the ground within a week. They started off, check this out, which I like this. And Trevor struggled with it, but it's okay because he rebounded. But what did they do? First training camp practice, red zone, basically a scrimmage. Not full tackling, not to the ground type thing, but we're in shells, we're in helmets, and we're doing a red zone, scrimmage, if you will. And the defense outshined him, no doubt about it. Trevor struggled a little bit. It was a pressure cooker type of situation early in camp. That's what the difference is. They're putting them in these situations that they're going to face during the game, and they're not taking it easy. I think they're humbled by last year because that was a fall from grace. I mean, they were 8-3, not as bad as the Eagles. Sorry, Eagles fans, at 10-1, but they were 8-3. And by the way, all they needed was one victory. All you needed to do was show up against Tennessee because Trevor played pretty well in that game despite suffering that ankle injury 3 weeks prior. The defense doesn't show up. So it's a whole new defense. It's a whole new attitude. Now, that doesn't mean anything, and you look at that schedule. Now, by the way, you'll think I'm crazy, but as I was looking through that again, the stretch of Detroit, Minnesota, it goes Eagles, Vikings, Lions, bye week, Texans. That's going to be a stretch, man. Because, look, you can beat Miami. I like Miami. Miami's going to be a good team. And you can beat Miami. You can beat the Browns. You beat the Bills last year in London. You can beat the Texans. You're not that far off from each other, if far off at all. I know on paper the Texans look fantastic, but that doesn't mean shit right now.
Absolutely.
So, look, I'd rather play that tough schedule and earn your way into the playoffs. I'll tell you the one thing about around here. It's playoffs or bust.
Right.
Shot Town has put out a shit ton of money. I keep saying that word. Sorry. Has put out a ton of money for his players. Josh Hines Allen got a big deal, $150 million or something like that. Trevor got his massive deal. He signed free agents to deals. He re-signed guys to deals. He put out a ton of money this offseason, and he's expecting them to win, which I am as well.
Hot seat. He's got brittle marks on his ass, right? As far as the head coaching is concerned, based upon the monies that they spend. Never mind the 2 years before that when they spent too much money on other guys that are not, I guess if you want to call it living up to their contract. That being Christian Kirk, although he was hurt last year, that was a big loss for them. Depending on what they're going to get from him, they're expecting him to go back to that. Okay, you reset the wide receiver money. Okay, we want you to be that guy.
His first year was massive, Sonny. He had a great first year here. That was his first year as a free agent. Last year, when he went down, everyone thinks it was Trevor. He went down in the first series against Cincinnati, if you remember.
Yep.
He went for that long pass and came down on his side or something, and he was out. That's the glue to the offense. That guy right there.
Right.
And that changed everything. And then Trevor gets hurt with the ankle, and that just whatever that kind of stuff happens. But he didn't recover till that Titans game. So I don't know, man. Look, it's you just never know. Think about the Jacksonville Jaguars last 2 years. They were terrible for a part in 2022, and then went on a run and took the champs to the wire. They get to the divisional playoff round. They could have maybe won that game against Kansas City. It was a pretty close game overall.
Yes.
You come back and next year and you're thinking 2023, man, we took the champs to the wire. We got a pretty good team. Let's get back after it, rebuild this thing. And it was kind of a weird year. Even though they were 8-3, they didn't feel like a very strong team. And then it went downhill from there. And it was very disappointing. Now, 2 9 and 8 years. You're not on the hot seat. unless this year you crap down your leg, which I don't think they're going to. I think they're going to have a good year. What that means, I think it's probably around that 9-10. I did a thing on a local radio, Jaguars Today. Great show I do every Friday.
Yeah.
With my boys, Mike Dempsey, Fat Tony Pockets, got to throw them out there. But I had them at 10. Just looking at the schedule, writing wins and losses. That was like maybe when the schedule came out, whatever that was.
Mm-hmm.
So I think it'll be right around there. If it's not, it's a disappointing year. Yes. I don't care about the schedule. I don't care about injuries. You just better have better backups than if you got injuries. As a backup that started a lot or enough, I can make that statement because I think every backup should be able to start in this league and hold down the fort at the minimum. Mm-hmm. But look, think about it. You're telling me the Houston Texans don't feel good about their team? You don't think Miami feels good about their team? Minnesota, did you see what J.J. McCarthy did last night?
Mm-hmm. Yes, look good.
Whipping the ball around, and Jefferson's not even out there. Detroit's going to – how do you think they feel? They feel pretty damn good, there's a lot of teams. Miami, they feel good too. They think they're going to – Buffalo, they're like, we're going to have a bounce back here. They'll be back. Baltimore, they're going to be – you know what I mean? The AFC's loaded.
It's loaded.
A little bit, but the AFC is absolutely loaded. So, you get through a schedule like that at 9-8 and get into the playoffs. Even if it says a wild card, you'll be battle tested. And as long as you're, rolling in the right direction with momentum into the playoffs, you got a chance to do some disruptive things, in my opinion.
What's your take up on? I mean, obviously, you were getting C.J. Stroud, taking over, winning the division. I don't want to call it a fluke because but he was I'm a firm believer. I don't trust any rookie quarterback. I don't care who they are. Okay. That's just the way it works. And it's always been that way for me. That being said, C.J. Stroud, he's cut from the mold. I mean, he's not that guy. He goes out there. And then, so now you got to look at a C.J. Stroud on what he's going to do. Looking at what they did last year compared to what they're doing, they basically got the same schedule. Well, not basically the same schedule, but different weeks and things of that sort, give or take 1 or 2 games. What their expectations are probably, do you see the Texans winning this division, or do you see the Jaguars stepping up and saying, listen, maybe you were the fluke last year and we weren't. So, I don't know. What do you think about it? And how do you think the AFC South shapes up?
I think the AFC South is going to be relatively strong overall. And I don't mean 10, 11 wins, but around that 8, 9 number, I think, across the board. Indy's kind of the wild card with Anthony Richardson, And so is Tennessee with Will Levis. I mean, it comes down to the quarterback. I'll tell you this about Stroud. He's not the first rookie QB to have a monster year.
No.
We've seen that in the past. And the sophomore year is when, the defensive coordinators get all offseason to build a game plan against you, what they think are your weaknesses. Whether they are or not, that's the way they think. And they'll game plan against you. The question is, can you beat the game plan as a second-year QB? Because they're going to try to confuse you. They're going to hit you. They're going to blitz you. They're going to really try to get after you, as you should. But I think the thing I think that sets C.J. Stroud apart is he's cerebral already. I think he sees the entire field really, really well. I don't think Trevor sees the entire field as well as C.J. Stroud. I think he's getting better. I do think he's getting better. And a lot of that's just, trust in your line. Like last night, make the throw, man, real quick. Boom, you hit him right in stride. Off he goes. Yeah, you might get hit, but you make the throw.
Right.
So I think CJ, for him to defend the sophomore slump, I think his awareness will get him past it. I don't know if he's going to have a monster year or they're going to win the division. I think it's going to be tight. I can see I could see us splitting with Houston. Mm-hmm. I could see us splitting with, I don't know, maybe sweeping the other. I don't know. Again, they've all upgraded. I'll tell you this about Houston that I really like is DeMeco Ryans because
absolutely.
Look, one of the it doesn't matter what level we're talking about or what sport, but how do you handle success and how do you handle disappointment are huge factors in having a great team. You know, see you guys. How do you handle success, right? You just had a big year. Everyone's talking about you. The national media, you're becoming the darling. C.J. Stroud is one of the best. You saw top 5. You know, all this stuff. Can you go back and forget about all that and put your nose to the grind and say, hey, man, I'm humble. I'm not listening to that stuff. I got a lot to prove. We've got a lot to prove. We're going to the table, right? Or are your head in the clouds and you say, you know, I don't need to watch that extra 10 minutes of tape. I don't need that extra conditioning in the weight room on the treadmill or that extra weight, you know, lifted session that I try to do every week. You know, that you get complacent. You know, you rest on your laurels. Well, we all know it's what have you done for me type of league. So even though you won last year, that don't mean anything this year. Mm-hmm. And you can look at Philly and you can look at us, the Jaguars, as perfect examples of that. And then how do you handle disappointment? How do you come back? Individually, how do you come back? You get knocked on your ass. You get beat for a long score. You drop a sure touchdown pass. You throw a pick for 6 points. How do you come back? How do you come back as a team? You just gave up a long drive. And now you got to go back out there, find a way to shut them down. Do you have the grit? Do you have the toughness? Do you have the ball players?
Yep.
You know what I mean? That's when you got those things on the positive side of those things, you got a team. And I think DeMeco Ryans is what I'm getting at. I think DeMeco Ryans, I think he's going to make him earn it. And I think you got to earn it every single time. And
I'll say this, believing your own hype, which the Jaguars, you know, they have definitely ran into. Trey Mack, go ahead with Tom McManus.
Tom, what do you think about this free agency year for the Jacksonville Jaguars? Do you think they did a really good job picking up the players they got, or do you think they may have left out a few things?
No, I great question. I like Mitch Morse a lot, the center. I think he brings an added toughness. I think him and Brandon Sheriff are going to have a nice 1-2 punch together. They kind of look the same, although Sheriff's got way more hair, but they're about the same size, about the same athletic ability. They're both nasty, so I like him a lot. Duvernay's, I think he made a great catch last night. He'll be great in the return
Taxi
game.
Mustangs, the team, the high school that he played. We call those games week in and week out here on the Couch Potato Sports Show.
All right, very cool. Yeah, he's man, the guy's he can surely run, no doubt about that. I think on defense, Ronald Darby's been incredible. He fits right into Ryan Nielsen's press coverage, man coverage, quarterback. He's been great. Savage, although didn't play, he's been really good in practice. Many think he'll start at nickel, who came from Cleveland. Terrell Edmonds made some big hits last night. He's on a team. I love that guy. Former first-round pick of the Steelers. They picked him up. I thought that was great. Eric Armstead, of course, hasn't played yet.
Yeah.
The problem, look, I keep hearing when healthy, he's great. And I know he is. But I don't like hearing when healthy.
When healthy.
Because that means, you know, he could, you know, I mean, anybody can get hurt. Don't get me wrong. But you don't want to, you know, as you get older, too, those little dings start catching up to you. You know what I mean? So we want him healthy. Who am I missing? Am I missing anybody? Gabe Davis. Gabe Davis, great pickup. I love Gabe. I think he's going to be a nice counterpart to Brian Thomas Jr., the rookie out of LSU. Christian Kirk and Ingram are the glue, guys. I'm telling you right now, they've been the glue, and they'll continue to be so. But Gabe Davis, I think, is going to be an upgrade. Granted, Zay Jones was hurt last year. The year before, he was great, but then he got hurt. I think he's out in Arizona. I hope he has a great career out there. But Gabe Davis, a little bit bigger, scores touchdowns, 17 yards of catch. We'll take it. He's been a nice pickup so far.
Just to piss off Sonny real quickly, what do you think about the acquisition of Mac Jones as a backup quarterback?
Hey,
at first I thought it was weird. I was like, why would you give up a draft pick for a backup QB that was in the same first round as your current QB, which is kind of weird. Like, I think when I think of a backup, you know, like last night, Carson Wentz, he's not going to beat out Mahomes.
Nope.
And neither is Mac Jones. I'm not trying to say that, but he's just there for support. And that's what a backup QB is. You know, you're the buffer between the coaches. You're that fifth eye that maybe you see something that other people don't. You're the guy that calms him down when things get rough. You're the guy that makes sure he's okay. You're the guy that can step in and run the offense, but it's not your offense. It's the starter's offense.
Right.
So when I think of Mac Jones, I'm like, well, he hasn't done that. I mean, maybe he did it for a year when he got beat out by Zappy, but he's not like this seasoned backup. So I was like, this is kind of weird. But look, he's shown that he can run the offense. He was efficient last night. Very efficient. They all were. They all played really well, the three QBs. I want to see more Mac Jones. What does it do? Nothing. Maybe he beats out Beathard as a second, the backup. He signed, he gets his fifth-year option, I guess. What is he, in his fourth year? So he gets his fourth year. They didn't pick up his fifth year.
No.
So they'll see what happens after that. And, he's back home in Jacksonville. He's from Jacksonville. He's kind of a goofball. He's always doing some funky stuff in practice, but they seem to love him. And he lightens the mood a little bit. But last night, he was all business, man. He did a nice job last night.
I just wanted to see better decisions as far as that was concerned, because at the time that was picked up, we did the show, and I just ran through a list of some of the guys I'd much rather have, and it was just, and the list was long. But at the same time, understanding where he was drafted, I get that idea. Well, you got 2 number 1 draft picks, but at the same time, you don't want to give you got to be able to say, Mac, you are number 2. That's not even think about this. You're here to do exactly what you were saying. Support the guy, be the third eye. But you can't take that out of a third-year guy. Just got done playing for Bill Belichick. This guy wants to be in there. He wants to start. He wants to be the guy. So, but I don't think anybody on that coaching staff expects Mac Jones to be the starting quarterback. But that at the same time, I just think that the experience factor at the backup position was more important than a Mac Jones, and that was my take upon that when that went down. So,
well, look, Trevor had what? He had the knee, he had the ankle, he had the head, and he had the shoulder.
Yep.
I mean, those are a lot of injuries for any QB to take, and you need a quarterback that can take over and win for you. I like Beathard. I think his arm strength's a little off just because he's, older, I guess. He doesn't have that cannon that you like to see. Mac doesn't have a cannon, but he throws a nice ball, and he hums it in there pretty good.
Yep.
But, that'll be a nice battle for number 2, And by the way, former first-round pick that they got for a 6th rounder, so
I get it.
There's no politics there.
Yep. All right. AFC South, what's your order? Who wins the division? Where do you see the rest of the teams within the division? I mean, I think the wild card in this whole division is going to be the Colts. How they rebound off of the injury to Richardson and how that's going to play out. So they're the wild card in reality that can throw this whole division off.
Yeah. Well, I think the wild cards are the quarterbacks, and that's for every team.
Right.
That's for CJ, for Trevor. I mean, look, Flacco backs up Richardson. Richardson's interesting because they don't have much film on him, so he may surprise a lot of people.
Yep.
You may not know, but he also may get hurt. You just never know. He might, not perform that well, but he could be interesting. Will Levis, look, I mean, they loaded up on weapons for him. Of course, grabbing Calvin Ridley, that coach seems to be pretty passing offense type guy. But I think, look, I got to give Houston the credit. Until you beat the champs, you can't be the champs. So they beat us last year. So I'm going to go Houston, Jacksonville in a very tight race. Could go either way. I think a tight race. And then I'm going to go Tennessee, Indy. But I mean, Indy just reloaded. That's all they did. They didn't go out and get, other than Flacco, get a ton of, but they re-signed their key guys. Tennessee added, and they've got a good defense. That I tell you what, that guy they drafted out of Texas next to Jeffrey Simmons is going to be interesting. Sweat, that massive 6'6", 350 pound. You know what I'm talking about? They always seem to draft those big defensive linemen that are a pain in the ass.
Yep.
Jeffrey Simmons is one of them. Montez Sweat, I think. No, that's not Montez Sweat. I forget what his name is, but he's out of Texas. He was the second D lineman that got drafted out of there. He's an absolute monster. They had Harold Landry back, kid out of BC, the third. You know, he can get after it. They've got good linebackers. Yep. You guys upgraded your defense. I mean, come on. I mean, Houston did. Danielle Hunter, are you kidding me, to go with Will Anderson? Azir, the linebacker from Tennessee. I like that guy's a great linebacker.
Yeah.
It's Tavondre Sweat.
Tavondre Sweat, thank you. Yeah, he's a big human being. I mean, look, remember John Henderson and Marcus Stroud? You know what two big guys like that can do for your defense. So it'll be interesting. But yeah, I think that's how it'll shake down. You know, look, I think it's going to be tight. I don't think. I could see Indy in Tennessee, you know, hitting that 6'10", 5'11", you know. I don't see the other two going that route. I think they're going to be right around 500. You know, maybe a little bit better. And Houston a little bit better than Jags. Maybe. We'll see. It's going to be great. It's going to be great.
With the hometown, the hometown feel of where you're from, Chicago and the area, what you get the outside looking into the Bears. You get more of the in-depth with Jaguars. What's your take upon what you're seeing with the Bears? Obviously, Hester and Mongo at the Hall of Fame. That was huge. And it's good to see him, even though it is sad, but it was good to see him, and I'm glad he got in before he passed away. What's your take upon the Bears and that whole situation and the Hall of Fame?
Yeah, well, first of all, congrats to both of them. Devin was just absolutely electric. What a player he was, even in college. So McMichael, I grew up watching, right? Mm-hmm. So I was a kid watching him. He was incredible, larger than life. I actually got to meet him. I can tell you the story when he was wrestling. I got to meet him backstage.
Ah.
Yeah, so in 1997, I think it was 97.
It was around that time, yeah.
The ECW was in Jacksonville, and we had the night off of training camp. And so me and like 4 or 5 guys got to go backstage. And Ric Flair's in there doing his whole hoopla thing.
Yeah.
Benoit's in there lifting these bands. All these big, beefy dudes. Well, all I want to go see is McMichael. I just want to see Steve McMichael. So he's just kind of hanging out. He's all big dude. He's black, like leotard things. Whatever.
They have the dog.
He did not have the dog.
I don't think Deborah was with him then at that point. So
no, he did not have the dog. And anyway, so I go up to him and I'm like, "Hey, Steve, my name's Tom McManus, played for the Jap from Buffalo Grove, Illinois." And he's like, "Oh man, no kid." I said, "Yeah, man, you guys were absolutely incredible. You guys were all heroes of mine and my friends." He's like, "Oh man, it was so great." And I say to him, "I go, all right, I got a question for you." He goes, "Yeah." I said, "Is it true the night before the Super Bowl against the Patriots, you were in a defensive team meeting and out of nowhere you picked up a chair and whipped it so hard against the blackboard or chalkboard or the wall that it stuck into the wall?" And he goes, "Absolutely true." And then we all walked out of the meeting, and that was the end of that meeting. I was like, that's pretty cool.
That's good stuff.
Cool. Yeah, so he was great. And look, I tell you what, Caleb Williams, man, he's smooth. He is a smooth operator. Jeez, I only saw some clips, but I didn't see the whole game. But yeah, look, I like the Bears. I like the Bears. I think they've done a good job. We'll see now, on the offensive side with the new weapons. Keenan Allen, that's huge. I mean,
I love that
him with more, that could be really good. Komet's dad and I grew up. We're high school buddies. Frank Komet is Cole Komet's father, the total stud coming out of high school. defensive lineman. But yeah, look, I mean, I think the Bears, they're in an uphill battle, man. I think Minnesota, if that QB comes through, they're going to be good. Detroit's going to be good again. There's no doubt they're going to be good again. That coach, he makes them earn it every single time. So I have no doubt that they'll be, unless major injuries to major players, but I have no doubt they're going to be a tough NFC team.
And you got the Packers too, and I mean the Packers.
And the Packs.
Yeah.
I mean, they
Jordan
finished strong
Love
last
looks
year.
like
So.
the guy that is going to be the third quarterback in the next 40 years. So there you go up on that. So,
I mean, you think about it, they've gone from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers down to Jordan Love.
Yep.
Yeah, they gave Jordan Love a ton of money. He had a good year last year, though. He did. He came on strong.
Yeah.
Look, everyone gets so uptight about QBs. That whole if so and so was in San Fran, he'd be better than Brock. But it's not just Brock; it's across the board. And I'm telling you right now, the key to your quarterback is that he runs the offense efficiently and successfully.
Right.
That's it. He doesn't have to have the biggest arm. He doesn't have to have the quickest feet. He doesn't have to be the tallest guy. He doesn't. He's got to play the position and play the offense the way it's supposed to be run, efficiently, without turnovers, and being very consistent. And you know what? That's what you want out of your QB. First pick of the draft, last pick of the draft, I don't care. I just want my guy. I don't care how big his arm is. Great. Is it a big enough arm, and is it accurate? Right? Having a big arm is great, but are you accurate? Trevor on his deep throws down the sidelines aren't that great. They're not that great. In the middle of the field, they're fantastic. He throws it out in front of them. They run under it for the most part. It's great. But it's got to be efficient. So, people are like, well, what do you think Trevor Lawrence would do in San Fran's offense? And I'm like, I don't know, because I don't think his awareness is that great, first and foremost. I'm sure they cater the offense to him a little bit more. I'm sure he'd be successful. I'm not saying he wouldn't be. But Brock Purdy, they love him. Why?
Mm-hmm.
Because he runs the offense.
Yep.
And they don't care if he's pretty. They don't care about any of that. They just care about production. And that's all that matters. So Jordan Love, no, he's not Favre. No, he's not Aaron Rodgers. But if he can be successful running that offense, we love him. He's our guy. Same here in Jacksonville. Trevor's our guy. We love Trevor. We want him to be ultra successful. But he's got work to do.
And he's going to be there longer than any of the coaches. So that's going to be, take a look at that. Where are you playing tonight? You got a gig tonight? Or Dad Bods? Are you hitting the stage again?
No, not tonight. Not on a Sunday night. We start school tomorrow. My youngest, her sophomore year in high school. So we're back at it. Dad Bods was playing later in September, not till September, but at a really cool bar up by the beach. So it'll be pretty awesome.
Catching up with Tommy Mack. Make sure you catch it. It's usually a Tuesday and Friday.
Yeah, actually, Sonny, if I may, I got a new webpage that houses all of my media. So TommyMac.net. TommyMac.net. You'll see Catching Up with Tommy Mac podcast. Like Sonny said, I do it twice a week. You'll see The Horse's Mouth, which is like a TV show where I'm behind the bar, I'm the bartender, and my guests in is my patrons, and they tell their story about what they're doing in business and life and sports, military, philanthropic. It's absolutely fantastic. So you can catch it all right there.
Is that with the new sponsor that you had? The new sponsor that you had that you picked up with the computer stuff and stuff like that? Is that the same people?
Man, that's Team Tommy Mac. That goes through my Catching Up with Tommy Mac. Yeah, I've got 11 businesses now that I personally
Unbelievable.
endorse. They're great. They're great,
Good
man. They
stuff.
just, you know what? They do it right. So it's easy to endorse. If they didn't, I wouldn't endorse them. But they don't. They do everything correct, and they care about people. So it's good stuff, man.
And what about you're going back to the bar and doing the show with
Yeah. Well, you know what? No, we're not. That show got halted. I thought you were talking about The Horse's Mouth. I check it out because my latest is a 20-plus 2-segment conversation with Coach Dave Campbell, the former head coach of the Dallas Cowboys and coordinator here in Jacksonville and other places. So
And he's been on your show many
He's
times.
awesome.
I've watched,
Yeah.
And
Awesome.
the wealth of knowledge that he brings to that, interestingly enough, he slows the game down even when he talks. I know he did it when he played, but when you talk and you pick up on a lot of things that you might have missed, depending on what he was saying. I do like Campo. I love that, and he's been on the horse's mouth a couple of times.
A lot.
Yeah.
A lot. He's fantastic. So, we do that every week. Talking Jags, talking NFL. So it's good stuff.
Very good. All right. Big man, thank you for your time. I appreciate it. Let's go Jags. Let's see if they can break through, and we'll check in with you about mid-season and see where they're at and what your expectations are. Okay, my man?
All right, beautiful. Thanks, Sonny. Thanks, fellas.
No, thank you for joining us here on the Couch Potato Sports Show. Enjoy having you on. Thank you, my friend.
Yeah, man. Peace and love to you guys.
Take care now. Bye-bye. He is. Listen. We don't have very many guests up on this show, and he just brings the wealth of knowledge. He has a little fandom in it, but at the same time, he'll talk about the Jaguars in a straight front back. The only thing that as far as when I'm looking at Jaguars, and I'll just throw this out since you're here, Trey Mack, and we're talking the AFC. I'm going to put the stat back up there. Is the passing was really good for this football team, and that's with them not playing well at the end of the season. Now, I looked at everything else and I hate it, but I like the fact of where they ended up with the quarterback being in the position he was in, which was injured, which sucks. You don't want your guy dealing with injuries that halt his progression. And when you're talking ankles, when you're talking shoulders and things of that sort, that's what affects a starting quarterback. So I'll hop in and talk to you about it. What's your take up on the Jaguars this year? Do they have the opportunity to go against and maybe go win the division? Where do you got the Jaguars within the division?
Put their schedule up again real quick.
Say that again?
Put their schedule up again real quick.
Here's the schedule right there, man.
Okay, let's see. At Miami, still not 100% sold on Miami, but that's a pick 'em right there. And that's the first game of the year.
Yeah. Tough one. I mean,
okay. Okay. I want to give that. I'm going to give the edge to Miami because they're at home. Not that Florida at home is really a big of a difference, but
yeah,
they're at home, so I'll do that. Then they play the Browns. The Browns defense is going to be rough.
Yes.
And that's one thing that Tom didn't quite mention when he mentioned the Browns. Browns are going to be rough this year. Now, quarterback-wise, we know who their quarterback is. We know what we're dealing with. But the guy's not necessarily a loser either. So, I mean, the guy can put some wins up there. That's going to be a tough game. And unfortunately, I see a loss in that one too because I think the Browns are going to start off the year 2-0 because they're going to beat the Cowboys first game of the year. At the Bills, again, I'm not sold on the Bills. I want to see where week 3 is always interesting because you don't know what you have after 2 weeks.
Right.
So the game's in Buffalo. Not that it's going to be cold or anything like that there at that point, but give me the Bills on that one. Because, again, it's in Buffalo. Then me and Houston, Texans, divisional game. Looking forward to it. We'll see where the Texans are after 3 weeks. I'm thinking their first win might be the Colts. And
that's what I'm thinking.
And then that starts you out at 1-4.
1-4. Then
you got the Bears. Okay, now we don't know what kind of Bears we're going to get. We have no idea.
Yep. And that game's international too.
Yeah. So, but Jacksonville's good with international games. So, and Chicago doesn't travel a lot like that. So let's get that one to Jacksonville.
I'll give them that one.
Then the Patriots. We have no idea who the Patriots are this year. So, and they're still
that one's also cross country.
Yeah, cross country. So basically, they're just going to stay over there. It's fine.
Yep.
So that's a win. Then they got the Packers at home. They kind of got like 4 straight home games, really. Because they're the international games, they're used to playing international. It's kind of like a home game for them.
It is, yep.
But the Packers, again, not sure who we're going to get Packer-wise, but give me the Pack. I think they're a tougher team than Jacksonville. Eagles at the Eagles. Again, it's tough because you don't know who you're going to get with the Eagles.
Yep. Jalen
But
Hurts.
at that point,
Jalen Hurts, the Super Bowl, or Jalen Hurts from last year.
And you know what? The first 6 games will indicate that with the Eagles.
I fully agree.
But that's in Philadelphia. It's a tough win. That's a tough out regardless. So give me the Eagles there.
Yep.
Vikings. We talked about how good the Vikings look right now. Before the bye week,
they gotta win.
Before the bye week, they might only have 2 wins, and I'm not trying to be an asshole about this.
No, I fully agree.
They might just have 2 wins, but again, we're talking maybe the Patriots, maybe the Bears, maybe the Colts, but they're all maybes,
Right.
Go the bye week, then you get the Texans again. Like Tom said, they probably split that. I kind of agree with that. At the Titans are going to be a tough out. Titans are going to be, because the Titans they lost Derrick Henry, but they gained a lot in the offseason.
Yes, and on the offense, but you don't know who we just really don't know who the Titans
we really don't know. But so okay, let's say they win that one. Then they got the Jets, and who knows at that point if Aaron Rodgers just still has a leg by then.
Well, he make it 5 plays. I don't know.
Who knows, right?
Make it 5 plays.
It's a little deeper in the season than he's probably prepared for.
7 plays, $80 million. Why not? Chase.
Yeah, Jets. I can see them beating the Jets.
Actually, $100 million.
But if Aaron Rodgers is playing and if he's doing pretty decent, Jets will win. If Aaron Rodgers is out, then clearly I got Jacksonville winning. At the Raiders, I see them beating the Raiders. So I think they're going to have a good second half season. Not enough to get them to the playoffs, though.
No.
That's where the issue we're going to have, where Houston might just, like, you had Houston's schedule up here earlier.
Yeah, I'll put it up there. It is. Boom, right there. Same schedule except for one game.
Almost. The Cowboys. They're going to beat the Cowboys. Yep. But then also they got to play at the Chiefs. Mm-hmm. So that's it. And they got to play the Ravens. So it's not quite the same. But they got the NFC North and they got the Cowboys, and they got the other 2 teams in the AFC West. So Houston's going to dominate the division.
They should.
They should. They have no. If they don't, then that sophomore slump is a real thing. And not that I'm saying that it's all going to hinge on C.J. Stroud, because their defense might just suck. Because if you look at what they gave up passing wise last year, they got to improve on that. So yeah, I over under 10 wins. What's the over under on wins with Jacksonville?
Well, I'll tell you, the Jaguars.
8 point. Boy,
I got the Jaguars winning 6 freaking games.
How many?
6.
You're kind of looking the way I look at the Cowboys this year.
I just and here's the thing. When I look at the Jaguars, what they have to do, I don't know if they're capable of doing it. Say whatever you want about Calvin Ridley. That's a friggin' loss for this football team. Okay, yes, you get a good player, out of the draft, out of LSU. Love the dude. I think he could be there, but that's year number 1. I want him at year number 3, definitely. But you're going to depend on Christian Kirk to be your guy. Your number 1 guy. But here's the guy that's got to be monster. It's got to be the other Josh Allen. Okay, it's got to be this guy, the big guy they paid the money to, the guy that gets to the quarterback, the guy that makes plays, and then he's got to take that infectious, persona that he has and feed it onto the other players. Because here is the depth chart here in reality for the defense. And listen, out of all of it, there is nothing except, in reality, Josh Allen to, call home to mama about. So they have to get guys to step up, like Jeremiah Ledbetter. That dude's got to come. That guy came from San Francisco. He's got the winning attitude. He should be able to help him there. So you got him, and then you got you got your rookies that might move up. Jerry Jones, he's slated to be into the cornerback position, and some of the other ones on the defense. You need to see your young guys step in and do what they got to do. Now, on the offensive side of the ball, you got rookies all over the place that are, take away from Brian Thomas, the wide receiver out of LSU. Okay. The simple fact of the matter is that, you got basically, and I say basically, they kind of did what the Cowboys did. They didn't sign the sexy picks, right? They just got guys. And I don't know, the Jags have a lot of Jags, okay? Just guys. They got a lot of just guys. And I worry about that as far as Jaguars are concerned moving forward and everything for their football team. I just don't, and 6 is a stretch. But I will say this. If Trevor Lawrence can figure out a way to go 3-1, I will believe the Jaguars could be the same team that they were before he got hurt last year. Coming off of not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 injuries from the year before, that's a tough thing to get up and over the hump on, and I'm worried about Trevor Lawrence being able to step in and be the guy he was in the first 11 football games of last year.
If you look at their schedule, the thing is that it's not if you win September and October, it's November and December, the months you got to really look at.
Yeah, but if you're only 3 games of victory getting to November and December, it's really irrelevant.
But then again, depends how the entire conference shakes out. Depends how the division shakes out too. Because if everybody is neck and neck at that 8 to 9 game stretch that Tom talked about, then it's gonna be the determination on who they win that second time out. Like especially in the division, if they can beat the Texans one out of 2 times, if they can beat the Titans 1 out of 2 times, if they can beat the other team that's in the division, I can't remember now. But the Colts, which honestly, I don't know who the Colts are this year. I really don't.
Exactly.
So, I mean, I'm going to pick them 4th.
Fake, man, they're too
I'm going to pick them 4th only because I don't know who they are. Now they could surprise up and become number 3 really quick because the Titans might just fall off the face of the earth. They look good in my Madden game. Of course, I'm the quarterback of them, so I mean that's all I'm going to tell you. But we're winning 50-0 early.
Hey, there you go.
But as far
as I laugh, but they probably would pick week to week better than I would. So I better not laugh. I shouldn't laugh.
Yeah, the Titans and the Colts can be those teams where they're not going to win this week and they win. They're going to win this week, they're going to lose. So it's like it's one of those frustrating picks we're going to have all year long. Like between them and Washington, you pick them, they lose. You don't pick them, they win. You're going, motherfucker.
Hey, there are many teams like that in the NFL, but all right. So let's start with the number 1 spot. Houston. Who you got in the number 1? I got Houston. You have Houston. So let me write that down. I already wrote mine down. So you got Houston at first. So, all right. So who finished second in the division?
That'd be Jacksonville.
I got the Indianapolis Colts. Even though we don't know who they are, I like the personnel better. I was looking at the personnel, and I think, and before Richardson got hurt, he looked really good. Liked what I saw. I don't know if it's enough for folks to figure out who he's going to be. I just saw a few more games when I was looking at the Colts game. Here's the Colts. Here's the Colts situation. They got. I think they got a little bit of a better schedule, and but at the same time, I don't know where they win their first game.
Let's see.
Unless it's the Bears.
Well, they can lose the first one at Green Bay. They can lose that one. They could beat the Bears, possibly. I don't know who the Steelers are yet. but that's at home, so I'm not. I think they'd be 2-2 there. I'm just guessing at that point.
Yeah.
Again, we don't know. We don't know about the Jets. We know the Broncos are going to suck. So
right.
The Giants. I mean, look, they look good on Hard Knocks during draft season.
Well, everybody looks good on Hard Knocks.
I mean, I got news for you. The Cleveland Browns look good in the movie Draft Day, but I mean, that's a movie.
A movie.
So it's not real life, okay? It's not Kevin Costner really running the team.
Yeah,
and Superman's not your quarterback.
Trading away and get the trades back and all that. Yeah,
such a great movie.
It is a good movie, though. I did enjoy it. As an entertainment side of it, I definitely didn't fall for it as far as the realistic portion of what. But it was entertaining.
You know what's kind of cool about that movie? Do you know how many Superman references are in that movie?
I didn't keep track, but I remember
the owner of the Browns played Perry White in Superman Returns. The quarterback was Tom Welling. He was on Smallville, and Kevin Costner played Pa Kent on the Man of Steel movie. So you had 3 of those right there. So
that's the one I have got to see. I've got to see the Man of Steel. I have not seen that one.
Really good.
And that's all I hear is really good. And out of all of them, if I'm going to watch them, I'm going to watch Batman.
Really dark too.
The rest of them I don't watch.
It's really dark too. So which is where I'm liking that the new one's not going to be as dark, but at the same time, Christopher Nolan was producing it, and he gave that Dark Knight feel, which you should never do with Superman because he wears the primary colors. Yeah, those should be seen, but that's just my opinion. But
there you go. So I'm just going to go ahead just because I don't know what the Jaguars are going to be after they go 1-4. Yeah, I just said it. I don't know if they're going to fall apart. I don't know if they're going to come back. I don't know what's going to go on. But more than the fact, when I look at upside on football teams, I see the Colts having more upside than the Jaguars. So I got the Jaguars in 3rd place.
But this is also you playing. They're my favorite team, so I put them last, and they do better than I think they're going to do. I'll feel so much better about it.
How often have I been wrong about the Jaguars?
I've only known you for 1 year, so I only got 1 year.
So let me tell you something. In my criticism of the Jaguars, make
it quick because I got things to do.
Oh, you got to go. Are you going to work?
Yeah, I got to work there in a little bit.
Well, no. I'm just saying. You got to love your team, just like how many years for you and the Dallas Cowboys? You got to love your team.
Since '79,
but I'm the most critical on them, and usually because the criticism. Listen, I'm no insider, but they bitch slap me on their weaknesses and things that they do week in and week out. It bitch slaps me, and if you can't reckon, like last year, good point. When they went in that stretch of that 4 games, and I said when they were going into that stretch, they needed to go 3-1. They went 1-3, and the last game again they made a backup quarterback from the Cincinnati Bengals look like a Hall of Famer. It was pathetic. And by the way, they should have won that game because you say whatever you want about their Trevor Lawrence played a good ball game. They should have won that game. It
was funny because when I was listening to Tom telling about all the injuries that Trevor's guy with his head, his shoulder, his knees, and his ankles, all I kept thinking was head, shoulders, knees, and toes. I did too.
but he's right. But at the same time, during that stretch, okay, they went 1-5. I mean, you can't do that in November and December, especially if you're a team that is vying for a playoff spot. Because guess what? The first and since there's 18 games, when they get to the point where they are at the 15th game, they got to start doing it. Go ahead.
Time out. There's 17 games, 18 weeks, or 17 games.
Yes, that's what I meant. Yes, yeah. But they have got to when
they want to add that one extra game. I know they do.
Right, but you've got to be like you said, it starts in November. Okay, you can slide a little bit in November, but December and January, if you're not spot on, you know where you're going to be as a football team going into the playoffs, because guess what? That is your team for the rest of the season. They are as good as they're going to be in week 15 as they are going to be all year if they're going to make the playoffs. So you have a good look at what the Jaguars are going to be at that time.
Well, like in college football, you lose one game, that's your season. In the NFL, you pretty much have that first couple months, those first couple weeks of cushion to where you figure out who your team is. By around week 5, you should know who you are.
You should.
You should. Week 4, week 5.
5. I want to give them the first 4 to develop who they are, and then from 5 to 15, they have got to be the team that they're going to be going into the playoffs, or they can just kiss their chances.
Yeah, I mean, you go into the first quarter of the season, you know who you are,
right?
And then you the second quarter of the season, whether or not you have a buyer now that might help you, but at that point, you've kind of set in place what's gone on, what injuries have crept up that have probably wrecked your season or helped your season.
Yeah, that's true.
Then by the time you get to the second half of the season, you're in November, and after Thanksgiving, you're looking, okay, how many games are we out? What do we have to do? What has to work for us? Mm-hmm. Who's got to lose out there? All that stuff goes into place. Now, one extra game on the last week of the season, which the NFL has really banked on that quite a bit. It's needed for a lot of teams, but then like if you are like the poor New York Jets who just struggled after week 1 of like, just get me to the end of this goddamn year.
Exactly.
I mean, it's like, please, man, let's make this a lot easier for all of us. I mean, there are those teams out there like just put the gun to the back of our head and do it now, because we don't want to deal with this anymore crap. Again, if Trevor goes out and you're stuck with Mac Jones, he has to have Mac Jones is. You know who he was. Now, he has to have the mindset. Now, I don't know if he can have this or not. He's got the mindset of like, this is my one opportunity.
Absolutely.
This is my one opportunity. I've shown nothing in the AFC East AFC East. Now I'm in the AFC South. I'm not having to worry about the Patriots and the Jets and the Bills and the whoever else is, or I guess he played with the Patriots. But I don't have to worry about those teams. I got to worry about who's in the South team, who, by the way, Houston, an unknown Colt team, and maybe a very feisty Titan team by that point. It's hard to say.
Maybe at the end of the year when they don't have anything to lose, and they go and just throw a monkey wrench into the middle of what you're trying to do.
By the way, that stadium out there in Nashville is spectacular. I've driven by there many a times. Mm-hmm. I've seen those fans pack that thing in quite a bit. It is a phenomenal stadium. Now, does it mean wins and losses? No. But, I mean, I'm saying their fan base.
The atmosphere.
The atmosphere is it's almost the same way as it is out there in Knoxville when Vanderbilt plays. They might suck, but hell, their fans draw.
Right.
So and you get the University of Tennessee fans going in there and the Rocky Top people going in there. It's a whole different atmosphere that teams that are not familiar with that, they come in there and they're going, we're not in Kansas anymore, Toto.
Absolutely. Yeah. They're not in LA. I mean, they're like different worlds out there and the different kind of things that they do and how they do them. I mean, you get the glitz and glamour of LA, and then you go to Tennessee, you got women who don't care what they look like. They're not dressed to the nines. They're going to the game because they're cheering on the team and stuff like that.
I mean, the women have their face painted. They're all decked out.
I love it.
I mean, the cool thing is, the first three letters of the Titans is TIT, and they're right there. So
totally agree.
TIT, and the other guy's going AN. ANS. So
So, I don't know. This season, as far as this division is concerned, and we can, we can sit there, and say your expectations. There's only one team that you really should have expectations for. I mean, I don't have expectations for the Jaguars. I just don't. And mainly because I know their history. And guess what? When they are successful, this team goes backwards sometimes. And that first 11 games, when they went 8-11, and they went to that spot of the season where you're a good football team when you can beat this team, and this team, and they weren't able to do it. Go ahead.
How can you go 8-11?
8-3. Sorry. 8-3. They went 8-3. But when you get to the meat of your schedule against teams that, listen, there's teams on your here, I'll throw it up, and I'll throw this. If you're a good football team and you're the Jacksonville Jaguars, okay, all right, you're going to have dogfights with the first 3 weeks. You should be able to beat the Texans at least once in the season. You should be able to beat the Colts and the Bears, the Patriots. And if you're a good football team, you beat the Vikings. You're going to be in dogfight with the Lions. You should be able to, based upon history of the Jets, you beat the Jets and the Raiders, and you should be in play for the playoffs and win 10 to 11 football games. I look at this schedule. There's not 10 wins on this football team. Okay. Only one team in this division is going to make the playoffs, and that's going to be the division champion. The rest of them, you got to understand, you got 2 teams that are going to come out of the West, possibly in the AFC. Okay. And then you got the North.
So hold on a second. We got the Chiefs and the Chargers.
You got the Chiefs and the Chargers if their quarterback gets healthy. Okay. I don't believe in the Raiders at all.
No.
And
Denver is not.
Denver, yeah, if they're the wild card and they figure out how to win, but I don't. So then I go to the North. They're all 4 of those teams are capable of making the playoffs. So I think 2 teams are at least going to come out of there. Okay, so and then
be what Cincy and Cleveland,
Baltimore.
Yeah, let's say Baltimore,
Cincy, and Cleveland. Yes,
that's
3 teams that could possibly and Cincinnati. You can't count out Cincinnati. There are 4 teams in that division that can either win it or make it into the playoffs, depending on what they do out of the year. And then you got the Buffalo Bills in Miami. I just don't see any other team coming out of the South, as far as wild card are concerned, to make the playoffs. You're going to have to win 11 games to make it into the playoffs in the AFC, because just as Tom said, the AFC is loaded.
Well, we talked about make or break years. This is a make or break year for Josh Allen, because
I agree.
Because that, you think Dak Prescott is on the bubble right now here in Dallas only because of his contract. You think Josh Allen is right now? Are we going to win with this guy or not?
That's.
Same
question they're asking with Dak, yeah.
Well, the same question they're asking about San Diego right now.
Games in certain teams, Dallas is one, Buffalo is another, based upon their quarterback. The Ravens, and a few other teams. Chargers. Yeah. Well, but I'm talking about getting to the playoffs and what they do in the playoffs. The coaching staff and the quarterbacks are on the hot seat, because guess what? You can get to the playoffs. Okay, if you're a Buffalo, you could probably make it to the playoffs. If you're Miami, you might be able to make it to the playoffs. Baltimore, all these teams. Maybe if the Steelers turn that around, you got 4 teams within the North. But it's what you do in the playoffs and how you move forward. If you're Dak Prescott, if you're Josh Allen over in Buffalo, these are guys who are going to have to prove that they are the future of what they are. But I think the one that is going to be huge this year is going to be a big one, is going to be for the one over in the AFC West, and that is Justin Herbert. This guy's got to become that guy they're expecting to go, to take them into the playoffs and quite possibly a Super Bowl. They built Stadium for a reason. They want some Super Bowls over,
Yeah, Herbert and Allen are like the same player to me.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So
they're like the dominoes, one on each side. They're the
yeah.
same. It's just like ay. And
But you know what though? Tua's the same way in Miami.
yeah, but they got the big money contracts too. So
He does have the big money contract, but here's
So
the thing.
did Herbert.
But then now Tua's got to worry about if he comes out and goes 0 for 5, does he got people like Sonny Clark come out there and go, well, he got his money, so he ain't doing shit now.
Listen, but I'm just saying what even the front office is saying. Jesus, we're paying this much money and we're not getting shit out of this guy.
But you know the thing.
It's not just Sonny Clark, my man.
I know, but the thing is, sometimes it's not always just a quarterback either.
Well, no, but let's be honest. When you're looking at an NFL football game, you got to put, and rightfully or wrongfully so, you got to put 70% on your quarterback. Because guess what?
It would depend because I can tell you right now, the Baltimore Ravens back when they won their first Super Bowl.
Oh,
it had nothing to do with Trent Dilfer.
Day and age.
Exactly.
You are right about that, but it
was defense all the way. So it was all who Ray Lewis can get all of back in the day.
Absolutely, but with the days of a dominating defense out there, the way that the Ravens did, the Chicago Bears did, the
Broncos did it. The Broncos did it their last Super Bowl win.
Broncos had a really good defense.
It had nothing to do with Peyton Manning.
No, you're wrong.
He was there and he was Peyton Manning, but I mean they won the Super Bowl in spite of Peyton Manning that year because Manning wasn't firing all cylinders. He knew that was his last year.
You're wrong, but that's okay. No, you are. I'm going to find it. I'm going to find the thing because you're wrong about that. I got the let's see if I can find it.
You said I've been wrong many times, and you come back next week and go, okay.
No, you're wrong because he had the best. Peyton Manning had the best season of any. Here it is. Got it. Hold on 1 second. Give me 2 seconds. So the good thing about this, when you find something and it uploads quick. Here it is, right there. Come on now. Okay.
1 second.
They averaged 37.9 points a game. Okay. Best ever.
Okay, you're right. Okay.
Every once in a while, I'll remember a stat, and it don't happen very often. But you know what? But that goes back to what I said. Wow. I mean, because, by the way, and just because I'm going to agree with you, I didn't even think about that because that defense was so good too. And that's the defense was so good. I think the defense, outside of the fact that I could not remember that Peyton Manning did that, I didn't realize the records he set during that season. So it's really interesting. I fully agree. There's going to be something that is going to move forward. So you got to leave, right?
I can leave at 12.
Oh, okay. I thought you were at 11:30, but yeah. I don't know. I love this division of football. So next week, I got to find out from Cuervo was supposed to send me the odds. I had time set for.
He's busy. He's in Vegas right now.
Yeah, he was going to take a picture of the odds and everything and send them to me. And he's probably still in bed because you really don't start doing anything out there unless you're hopped up for breakfast. Now, me, I could care less about breakfast, but
dude, a breakfast buffet in Vegas sounds really good right now.
They went to a concert last night, so that
so did I.
Yeah, so yeah. Well, country music. I forgot who he's going to go see, but anyway, that's the way that part works. So, I don't know. Good, interesting. We'll hop into the other AFC team within the South or the NFC South.
So 1 second. We've got just so I'm clear. We've got the Houston, for me, Houston, Jacksonville, Tennessee, Indianapolis. You've got Houston, Indianapolis,
Jaguars,
then Tennessee.
Titans.
Okay.
Yeah. I hope the Titans can be as good as you look at paper and you're impressed. I know I am. I look at it, but I've been looking at the Titans for the last 5 years, and I'm like, they've always been good on paper. Now it's just like Tom McManus said, they're going to have to execute that playbook, and they're going to have to play well. And Will Levis, early second round draft pick, You say whatever you want about him. He's not the first one, but they're depending on that guy to be the guy. So they're going to have to. He's going to have to step up his play this year as well.
Well, I mean, the old saying, looks good on paper. Then I always sit there and go, papers never look really good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Dallas Cowboys, they were going to win the Super Bowl for the last 25 years based upon paper.
Well, based on their owner. By the way, I threw this out there. Would Jerry Jones take 3 straight Super Bowl wins if you could not talk for 5 years?
Oh God. Well, first of all, I don't think that's possible.
No, I know, right? So, I mean, he can talk, but he can't talk to the media.
Right.
He can't get up there and stumble and bumble and do the things that he does to make him sound like, well, the Cowboys were a good football, and we're a team, and we're going to. I'm like, I hear that, and I'm sitting there going,
right?
Who's like got the least amount to say, him or Trump? Because I mean, Trump is more like
that guy could never stop talking.
Guys, listen to me. Everybody came to my thing. It was a wonderful standout thing. All 5 people showed up. It was wonderful. It's like, shut up.
Oh,
so
man.
I know there are people who are going to watch it go, I'm a Trump fan. Well, good for you, sir.
Yeah,
go vote. Go vote. But
Jerry Jones, listen, I will thrash him for all this, paying this guy, paying that. But a marketing genius is what this man is.
Which is why I say he's never lost.
Yeah.
His team has lost. He has never lost.
Yeah.
And that's why it's frustrating to be a Cowboys fan.
Absolutely.
Because he'll change the coaches. He'll change the quarterbacks. He'll change the schemes. He'll change this. He'll change the water bucket in the office. Nothing will get fixed. But in his mind, we made good strides. We're like, shut up. I mean, look, I'm not a Giants fan by any stretch of the imagination, but I was really watching their team, how they were doing the draft during that. Now, granted, they might be doing all this for TV,
right?
But at the same time, you look at that and you go, there's a team that's got some strategy. There's a team right there that's got maybe some wherewithal. Whereas when Hard Knocks goes to cover the Cowboys, all you hear is the damn narrator say, the Dallas Cowboys are the number 1 team in the league.
By the way, how many
we're paid to say that time and time again. Just say,
how many teams in the NFL, have their owner go on local radio not once a week but twice a week? It's the only one that I know.
Okay, well, here, I'll do you one better than that. Name one NFL owner that has, like you said, 2 interviews a week and has one radio station do a fake version of him once a week.
By the way, that is magic. If you're in the Dallas area, that is magic.
What Gordon Keith does with him, and I loved it last year during training camp. The Musers were talking to Jerry Jones, the real Jerry Jones, on the air, and then they says, we got someone wants to talk to you. And is Jerry, you want to talk to him? Good morning to you, folks. Certainly very positive. And then Jerry just laughing his ass off because he's like, I love when you do me because it's so funny. We all sit around and we talk about it because we always wondered, am I that deranged when I'm talking to my kids?
Well, yes, you are, by the way. Sure. But that is really interesting. So as far as the dynamics of what they are comparing to winning a football game more so than being winning as a franchise. I mean, you can't say, hey, when you're about ready or possibly could sell your football team, for I think the number was 11 billion. You could sell it to the Saudis for $11 billion. I mean, all right, and I forgot what it was. Was it 600 million he bought the team for? I mean,
not even that.
Then it was 425 because that's the other number.
It was dirt cheap considering what an NFL team goes for now.
Right, and what he has done, as far as value of the football team, in a lot of times I say, well, just because you say you're worth 11 billion, but really, are you? I mean, how much can you actually get? I think the Cowboys can get that 11 billion from the Saudis only. And that's an interesting situation as well. Would they allow that sale? Say whatever you want about the Dallas Cowboys before they sell. They can't just sell because they want to. That's got to be agreed upon within the NFL and let that happen. So that's another thing. How much of that is going to be a point into that on who that team goes to? I doubt it will go to the
I wonder if that could happen, what would that do to the fan base?
That too, because we already saw just within the WWE when the Saudis when it was rumored that they were, how many wrestlers are like, well, good thing we got a second option in AEW or TNA or whatever, because that's what you were hearing a lot of.
But look at it now. TKO got it, and yes. TKO is making money. They're printing their own money.
Yep.
WWE right now under Triple H's regime, him and Nick Khan, are doing more so than AEW can ever do. Yep. They have merged with bringing in TNA to help them with their NXT program. They're and I mean the door's open and they're traveling overseas.
Yep.
They're doing away shows, like they got Bash of Berlin coming here at the end of this month.
Yeah.
They just had a very successful SummerSlam out in Cleveland.
Yes.
So I mean, it's like I'm not saying every decision that they make is great, but look at your option.
Well, and look at the money that they're bringing in compared to the years before. I don't know. I watched the show. Don't get me wrong, but I'm telling you right now, I look for that press conference with Hunter at the end of it. And by the way, they never did that before. I'm so glad they're doing it now. It's just kind of keeps me awake.
I mean, he does say kind of the same thing every show. Well, we broke another record this week, and
that's what you want to know as a fan.
Yeah,
wow,
I mean, I don't think he'd ever come and say, "Well, we can't short," but it's okay. So, I mean,
if that was going to happen, I would expect Hunter to say it. It's just something about him when he starts talking. I believe what he says, and if he said that, I would believe him.
My only issue is that what he does currently works for 10 years. After 10 years, you got to do something to change it up. Whether it's you change the ownership, you change the person in charge of the direction, whatever the deal is. Does he have that person behind him to do that? Now in NXT, CM Punk is going to be very instrumental helping Shawn Michaels out there with those guys. So I see his future being a lot more brighter now when he gets done doing his in-ring stuff. Because let's face it, he still had the best match at SummerSlam.
I watched your clips on those, when I didn't have time to watch, but I watched the clips throughout the day yesterday.
Yeah.
And I did notice that that's what you said about that match. And by the way, and I can't, sometimes I got to stop reading what people think about it. That SummerSlam was one of the best premium shows that they've had in years. I mean, everything was good about it. There were a couple, obviously, you see the mess ups here and there, but the overall of that program of SummerSlam, that was probably the best quality SummerSlam since Hogan and Ultimate Warrior went at it in SummerSlam. I think that's who it was.
No, it was WrestleMania when they went at it.
But didn't they do one in? I thought they did one in SummerSlam.
No. It's so hard to gauge, especially with SummerSlam, because SummerSlam is always your second best show of the year.
Yes.
But sometimes it doesn't come out that way,
right?
Because a lot of times the Rumble is a lot bigger of a story than anything else.
That's been coming along lately in the last 6-7 years.
But this one here, you had the return of CM Punk, which him and Drew McIntyre with Seth Rollins. All three guys hate each other in the ring, and it worked. So it was. I mean, me and my guys were talking about it during the show. We're messing each other like we have in our own little group. We're like saying this is cinema right here. This is perfect cinema. The main event wasn't great, but the payoff was great.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
I think they planned that, by the way.
Well, I don't think they planned to see just how not right Solo was. Solo's in a position where he needs to be better.
Mm-hmm.
Now, a lot of that is he's not doing a lot of work on Fridays. He's
Right.
doing a lot of mouth talk, but he ain't doing
Right.
a lot of wrestling. And
By the
his
way,
other
what
guys,
happened to Jacob Fatu? Is he actually hurt?
he's actually hurt his foot's in a boot, but I think he'll be fine.
Got it.
I think they're getting ready to start up a trios division because as much as I don't like them putting in more belts, they have quite a bit of guys in stables that are stables or 3 or more people.
Yeah.
That you can do a trios title with. And I would hate for them
you want to see all of them too. I mean, you want to see the guys that they got under contract actually wrestle.
But you and I have called matches together, and what have I always said? I don't like 6-man tags. I don't like more than the tag team match type thing because it gets too great. For someone to call it, it's too crazy. Now sit there and watch it, a whole different ball game. So now that I'm not calling matches anymore, I can sit back and just be a fan. But this would help out like a New Day thing. This would help out, the law score, what do you call it, the LWO. This would help out, different groups that don't have a title, but could definitely put something around them to make them more special.
Mm-hmm.
Again, who knows if they're going to go that way or not? They're going to introduce a women's speed title, I guess, because they're doing that men's WWE speed title.
I have yet to watch it.
Yeah,
I don't interest in it, but they get eyes on it. That's
listen,
for sure.
I got WWE 2K24. I can play video games in my house and have the same reaction.
There you go.
So, but it's like the whole dynamic, and we talked about it on my show, Offshoots TV. You can watch it on Facebook and on YouTube on Thursday nights, and I'll take the show and clip it apart and everything else.
Yes, like you did. I like that, by the way. It made it easy.
Yeah. It's something. Hey, I do love that I've had more time to actually focus on my show, and it happens when you have the time.
Yep, you got the time.
Whenever Joe Hendry's name is mentioned, I play his theme now, and it's to watch Omega and to watch Billy's and go.
Here we go.
but the little things that we're start adding in there to do whatever. I do know that it's funny because now that I can step away from it and just watch it and not be as super critical, and then just be a fan again. It's a lot more easier. I don't want to sit and watch a 3-hour Raw. I can't because I'm working. But if I'm off that day, I'm not going to sit here and be glued to a 3-hour show to where 75% of it I don't give a shit about. So but now I can sit there and just look at the stories and look at what's coming up with the news and actually spend more time investigating some things that I want to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a lot more fun. And I look at this show that when we start breaking down stuff, I thought about taking this show and breaking it apart as well. It'd be really hard to because we kind of scatter shoot everywhere.
Yeah,
but
we do that. But yeah, you're more than welcome. I just don't have the time and or desire to do it. But yeah, if you ever want to, you did it. I saw you do a couple of times.
I've taken clips. I've never taken like an entire 20-minute segment. I was talking about one team or whatever,
right? And
do it that way. And maybe when the season starts, I might do that when we start breaking down week after week.
Yeah, when you
game after game. It's something to do.
All right.
And again, if you market a certain way on YouTube and you start getting more people to watch it, YouTube starts paying. Just saying.
Roman Reigns. Payoff. You talked about the payoff, which is that. So what is as far as you know, what is the plan for the Roman Reigns thing? Is he going to be back in the ring, week in and week out?
I don't know about week in and week out because remember he's still dealing with he's still in remission from all that. He's got a very cushy schedule, and again, he's now he's very face, but he's also now he's a special attraction, and special attractions should not be used every single week.
Well, that's true.
Now you can use him and Paul Heyman to talk, which is great. Is he a baby face right now? Sure, but he should always still be heel.
Right.
He needs to be the anti-hero.
Right.
He needs to be the Austin of this group. He'll still be over as a baby face, but he needs to be an anti-hero, because what would change with him being the tribal chief? Nothing should ever change.
Shouldn't.
No. So in this case, you get him back. You get Paul. I think that I know they're working on Umaga's kid down there in Houston right now, trying to get him in there. But if you're going into Survivor Series with War Games, and you have the new bloodline, let's say they take on the old bloodline. You got Jimmy and Jay. You can bring back Sammy if you want to, because he's no longer the Intercontinental Champion. And you have the Honorary Uso again. Have the original bloodline, which the fans will freaking love. Which they can still be heel. They can still out-heel the other ones. But then show who the dominant team really is, with Paul Heyman in their corner. And then they can obliterate that bloodline, or have them join this thing and make it a bigger bloodline, which would already be a big case anyway. Then you become the NWO, and then you scatter all over the place. And now you've made the bloodline unstoppable, as you've now further enhanced their story. That's if they go that way. I don't think they're going to go to Berlin and have Roman versus Solo yet. I think they're going to wait.
That's too early.
I think so too. I think he'll go.
They're going to have to build it, and they'll probably take it. They'll probably take it to the next one.
Well, I think what they're going to do is they're going to build the Survivor Series.
Yeah.
They'll have him face, whether it's in Berlin or at the Mega or at the Bad Blood. He'll take on one of the other guys on the bloodline. Defeat him. Take on the next guy. Defeat him. Then take on Jacob Fatu. Defeat him. Get all the way to War Games. Then he's got to go through all three of them again to get to Solo.
Right.
So that's how you build that up, I think. And then from there, you can, your payoff is you finally get Solo. If the payoff is to get Solo and Roman in the ring together, one-on-one, you start by having Solo hide behind his guys in War Games, and then have them get the win. Have Solo and them get the win at Survivor Series, because you have to show what Roman's willing to do to get back to being in that title of the tribal chief.
Have the WWE, bigwigs missed out on Jey Uso? I know he's a fan favorite. Don't get me wrong. But this guy can't catch a win against any big guy that he goes out after in reality. Catch a win.
Wins, losses do not matter.
I know they don't, but that's when it comes to the fan, it does.
Oh, fine, but here's the thing now. He's 100% over with the crowd.
He's completely over.
He's selling merchandise like crazy. He is a big attraction. He's a main eventer. He's got all those pieces in place. All he doesn't have is a big win. That's all he doesn't have. He'll get there. Now, will he become the World Heavyweight Champion? Probably not. Will he become the WWE Champion? Probably not. But stranger things have happened, right?
Right.
So, right now, that spot is reserved for Roman. And Jay and Jimmy are your tag teams, your Intercontinental United States champions, maybe your speed champion if you want to go that route. But they're the guys who are your workhorses. Workhorses do not make great champions. Bret Hart was not a great champion.
I fully agree.
Okay. Mr. Perfect, love him to death, he's a workhorse, but he would not have been a great world champion. Dolph Ziggler was not a great world champion. Okay. But people like Roman, who can take that title and make it a special attraction. Cody is a workhorse. Cody is great at what he does. But the thing is, the shine is going to come off of Cody one way or the other. One day, people are going to sit there and go, we're tired of you force feeding them to us. The same way y'all did Roman.
Yeah, I was going to say Roman.
But look at Roman now. You
Mhm.
made him heel for 4 years. He was the most hated person in the business. Came back and look at the cheer he got at SummerSlam.
Yeah, 4 months gone, and boom, it erupted.
Again, what changed?
Yeah, I fully agree. It's one of those things that it like you said, cinema. I mean, you got to sell the story, and you got to do the good story.
Yeah.
And
Now, if you start seeing Roman Reigns show up on SmackDown every week chasing down Solo, that diminishes what he's doing.
I think you're right.
He has to be more cagier about it. They have to be more strategic. I can't say the word about putting him in place to make it matter.
Right.
And if you give me the main event every single show, it's like what I say about the Usos back in the day. If I see the same moveset from them every single week and that's all they got, why would I care when I see them on pay-per-view?
Yeah.
So they had to get out of that mindset to get where they're at now. So it took a while for them to get there. But that was also because you dealt with, Chris, the old man who was flirting with interns. So,
By the way, what do you think about this Shane McMahon over at the AEW thing? What's this all about?
He just talked to him. I mean, is he going to move the needle?
That's
Shane
none
McMahon
of them ever moved the needle coming over.
There's no one out there I could think of that is free that can go to AEW to change. I mean, honestly, CM Punk went over there that didn't change the needle. And CM Punk is a needle mover here in WWE. You know why? Because he's home. This is where he belongs. This is where his character can truly, truly shine. And now he's one of the right people to do it. He didn't have that with Vince. Right. But he has that with Triple H because Triple H sees the value of the name CM Punk. Vince didn't see that because Vince looked at the body type. Vince looked at, well, you don't look like the part that would be a professional wrestler, But look, the hell with that. Business has changed.
I was going to say that worked for a good 30 years.
Right.
And I'll give you an example of that. And also, you got to be able to bite the bullet when you need to. And one of them is Austin Theory. Guy bites the bullet, takes the big choke slam from nobody.
From Jelly Roll.
Yeah. Okay. From nobody, like I said.
Anyway, Jelly Roll's a big attraction, sir. He is sold out at WinStar, so I'm telling you, it took him 6 hours to sell out.
Just like I don't get it, but then again, I don't get a lot. But that being said, Austin Theory, I'm going to say it, and I loved when Vince had control of Austin Theory. I really did, because now we're getting this stupid Austin Theory and that Grayson Waller guy, which Grayson Waller's a joke. That guy shouldn't be in there.
No.
Oh,
that guy can talk. He's, they're all figuring out their spot right now. This is brand new. This is all brand new.
Yep.
Now, would they be better off going to NXT and working there and maybe working with the TNA brand a little bit? Maybe. Again, there's so many options that are available to these guys that were not available when Vince was there.
Right.
So, the thing is, Austin Theory's been on TV for a couple of years now. He's got big wins against John Cena at WrestleMania.
Yeah, I love him.
So, but he still is trying to find it.
I know.
And the thing is, I watched the CM Punk match against Drew McIntyre. And what I got out of that was, look at the facials that CM Punk was making. Look at the story in the story. The story was about him getting back that damn bracelet.
How stupid, right? But it's
stupid. It's very much like Bret Hart trying to get back his damn jacket from Pierre. Okay, but the thing is, the audience was there following his moves. They were watching. They were invested in what he was doing. When he got his hands back on the thing and put it around his wrist, the people were loud and they were going nuts about it. Right? No matter how stupid it may appear, they were getting after it. Then for Drew to take it off of him again and run. Again, the story continues.
Right.
You go tell a kid who's working the Indies right now, what are you missing? And I sit there and go, look at his face. Look at his reaction. Look how real this looked to him. That's what you're missing, because in your face right now, you are worried about what your next move is going to be.
Yep.
And he's going to have one thought about what the fuck am I doing next? His thought was, holy shit, I got to get I got to get this back.
Something so small.
Something so small, but it's so big on the bigger scope.
Absolutely.
And until people can take little things like a punch to the face, little thing, right? And instead of going, okay, next, and they take that shot and they go, oh, and just really sell it, and then all of a sudden, you bounce back from that.
Right.
And you and I have seen this live. So, I mean, we've seen guys have emotional matches before, and we've seen the crowd sit there and do this.
Yeah. It's all about the sell, man. Exactly. You don't pick up your phone if you're selling. You don't pick up the phone if the story is right. You don't get distracted by other things. You stay glued upon it. And
the thing is that when these kids have so many different voices in their ear, hearing different things all the time, and someone like me comes along and goes, hey, you should try this, I'm just another voice.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So are they going to really listen to me? I mean, we've seen clearly they don't do that.
Sometimes white noise.
Yeah, very much. It was like, because a lot of times they got in their mind, okay, I'm good at this, and this. We get it all in. Now it's all going to be in. Then what? Oh, well, I'm going to win the match, right? But
Ricochet.
But Ricochet found himself. Now, maybe a lot of that's because Samantha's hot as hell and she's a ring announcer, and they're and they know that they're connected some way somehow, and then maybe she helped push him a little bit, But now he's going to go off and do other things, and hopefully it works for him. I mean, sometimes you have to go somewhere else and find another hold.
Absolutely.
Sometimes you have to go there, get a new fresh coat of paint and try again.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes what
like
you
Jericho bouncing around, when he was bouncing around.
Jericho always found a way to keep himself fresh.
Yep.
Right before it got old.
Right.
And to his detriment, that's been good and bad. But at the same time, I mean, you can't fault the guy for still going out there doing what he does.
Oh, absolutely.
But
I would like to go on that cruise with that one thing. That'd be kind of fun. I wouldn't. Why not?
Huh? I've seen Jaws.
Oh.
But not that I think a shark's going to attack a cruise ship. But I'm just saying, I've seen Sharknado too, so I don't know.
There you go. All right, pirates. Watch out for the pirates. So, all right, my man.
I'm not worried about the Pittsburgh Pirates. What are they going to do? They can't win. They can't win a baseball game.
Win nothing. All right. Well, go to work.
Buccaneers.
Yeah. Go to work.
All right, boys and girls.
Next week we'll find out what's going on. I'll let you know what we're covering. I got to talk and see what the situation is. My thinking is we're going to go north is what I'm thinking. So be ready for that. AFC and NFC North. And,
we still got to talk NFC South.
Yeah, we haven't done the the NFC South yet, so we're going to have to figure out where we're going to throw that one in there. So, and we'll see what happens. All right, so that's going to do it for us on the Couch Potato Sports Show. Have a good week. We out. Bye.